We should be good to go. It should be popping up here on the YouTube. Let me give it a check real quick. And yep, we are. It still says starting. Hopefully, my internet connection's been weird lately. It says we are live. Alrighty. So, welcome in everyone to the Market Monday. This one I have a special one for you. This has the developers, the founders of Cardsphere. So we have Tom, Ted, and Michael for everyone joining. I have talked quite a bit about Cardsphere on the Market Monday as well as some other market videos because I am a huge fan of the service. I have been, I don't know, how long have I been doing this for? I would say at least 6 months. I've been part of the Cardsphere community. I believe I was in the 2000s of members that joined it, so it was quite established before I joined the service. So let's just talk about that. Where you came from, why you started the Cardsphere service, and where you see it going. So if each one of you just wants to introduce yourself, tell the role you play, and anything else you want to talk about Cardsphere, the time is yours.
Okay, I'll start, Kevin. Hey everyone, I'm Ted. I'm not a developer. I'm the only person on the team who's not a developer. But I handle, the marketing. I handle the disputes. I curate our blog, and I work with Michael and Tom on, vetting the ideas for the features and stuff like that. So I'm kind of the jack of all trades. Michael?
I want to interrupt you.
Oh?
You say you're not a developer, but you're learning Python, right?
Very slowly.
All right.
Hi there, I'm Michael. I am one of the two developers on the project, and I write code every day. Sometimes all day if it's a weekend or something, and features, deployments, making sure stuff goes smoothly, and I'm also sort of the treasurer guy, so I make sure the cash is where it's supposed to be, the books are balanced, and all this stuff. Tom?
Yeah, I am Tom. Let's see, I am a developer as well, although a lesser developer. Yeah, I'm a developer, and I'm kind of a jack of all trades. We're all jack of all trades, right?
That's true.
All right, so I try to write code, and I try to be present.
Don't be shy.
Tom's being too shy. One of Tom's spectacular skills is identifying exactly what people are asking us to build. So he can have these amazing conversations in our Discord where he always sort of pre-apologizes for himself and says, look, I'm not being aggressive with you, but I really need to understand what you're talking about. And he can get the most accurate details about what a person's needs are and pull them out and put it into our tracking system so then we can develop it at the right time.
Yeah. So we started this project roughly, I don't know, more than a year ago now, right? Out of some frustrations with Puka Trade at that time. And we just thought we could do better. And so we came up with this idea. The three of us came together, brainstormed, came up with the basic ideas, set of features, set of principles, how we're going to guide ourselves. And we assembled a community of early adopters. And so the project sprung into existence.
Yeah, one of the early events, actually, Kevin, you played a large role in it. At the time when FutureSight came out and there was a lot of community frustration, you sort of led the charge there, right? And you were one of the only YouTubers who was saying, this isn't what a community needs. We need someone that's going to build an ethical alternative and be responsible to the community, and that actually really resonated with me quite powerfully. And you can look, and one of the days that you released one of your sort of critical community videos about what was going on, that same day, I went and sort of called out a couple of other YouTubers and said, "Hey, Rogue Deckbuilder's right," and the whole community needs to say something isn't right here, and let's get it corrected.
Well, I'm glad I played a role in that. Yeah, that was, I think that one may be different from, we had the GG, whatever his YouTube channel is, GG Degree and MC Lion, and a few other people call it Puka Trade, but none of them actually used the service. They weren't Puka traders. And I think what set me apart was I'd sent thousands and received thousands in Puka Trade, and I referred people to the site. And I kept ringing that warning bell. This is not going to end well. And then they wouldn't listen. And yeah, and that was the beginning of the end with when I finally held TC Torrey Community College and Mana Source's feet to the fire and made them respond. That I think was the big downfall. But I'm glad there's an alternative, because after Puka Trade went away, I was itching because here at Gone Rogue Games, we buy a lot of cards, buy a lot of collections, and we have a very niche community here that only wants a specific type of card. I like to say that our bread and butter is the $5 commander card range, because we have players that want to build lots of different commanders, but don't want to spend a ton of money on any given commander deck. So those $5 commander cards sell like crazy here. Whereas like foils and modern staples, or something that usually had high demand in Puka Trade or now on Cardsphere, was it was easy for me to trade them off and then get those cards that I want. So I am really grateful to have a service that is something that I can give my stamp of approval behind. Very ethical. It's completely cash backed. I guess we can talk right now about how just Cardsphere works. Maybe make a little bit of, we don't want to get too much into the Puka Trade versus Cardsphere debate, but I do want to contrast the differences here for a little bit, because there are some very key differences. With Puka Trade, we knew, even some of us that have experience or a little bit belief in simulated markets, we knew that eventually, if it didn't have a lot of economists behind it really tracking the amount of Puka points out there and making adjustments accordingly, that it was headed for trouble. And I think that that's where Cardsphere has a huge advantage, is it's immune to it having its own point system. I guess that's fair to say, because it does have a cash out system and is backed by an actual currency. So I guess you want to go into that for a bit and just say how Cardsphere works.
Sure. So Cardsphere is a peer-to-peer trading site. But the trading takes place in an asymmetric fashion. So you're always pushing out cards that you have that you're willing to get rid of to people who are making offers on them. So, a lot of people think that there's a distinction between a cards for cards trade and pure buy-sell, but I think of it as trading, and I think of it as really easy trading. For many years, I used Deckbox, and one of the things that I absolutely hated about Deckbox, and I think Deckbox is a fantastic service, was the haggling that was involved. That you ended up in these long conversations. Sometimes it would take 2 or 3 days just to match up, the ledger with the cards that I want versus the cards that my trade partner wanted, and it was just a lot of hassle. So I really wanted the push trade functionality where I could operate at my own speed, my own pace. I'm a father. I've got 2 little girls, and they keep me busy enough. And so I want to be able to trade in those moments in time when I've got an opportunity. And the best way to do that is to be able to just have asymmetric trading where we're pushing it out. Of course, we had seen the other system, the sort of what we think of as the legacy system, using their own currency, and the problems that happened to the economy there. because of it, and I think they're still trying to get that under control. So the solution was simple. We just need to empower our users to name their own prices, and we'll back it with cash. And so once we had that solid core idea, I think Michael barricaded himself into a room with some finance books for a weekend and came back out with the numbers that would allow us to make it a reality. Would you say that's fair, Michael, as far as the finances go?
Michael, didn't you buy one of the For Dummies books?
Yes. I bought Accounting for that.
Accounting for Dummies.
Yes.
It's not a bad book.
Hey, please save that copy. I want that copy someday.
Hey. So
it'll end up in the offices with like a spotlight on it, kind of thing.
Yes, that is indeed true. I had to sit down and figure out what the proper cash out fee are supposed to be, so that we can cover the cost of acquiring the money, letting it into the system, and disbursing it. So under no circumstances, the way the system is set up, we have a deficit in the system, so meaning that we always have enough cash in the bank to cash out everybody in the system. And in fact, if anybody has read our end of year 2017 article, we have cashed out more money than there is right now in the system. We cashed out over $70,000, Ted? Right. And there is 60 something, or at the time of writing that article, there was 60 something $1,000 in the system. So meaning that it is working, and it's sustainable.
Mm-hmm. We so the interesting thing there, Kevin, is we actually were not expecting people to cash out frequently. We thought that the cash out was really just going to be a correction for the trust factor, right? So that people knew they could walk away if the system didn't work for them and they weren't receiving cards. But as it turned out, the system attracted several power sellers. We talk about Rich Doug Montalvo. He's one of our top all-time traders, and he's moved tens of thousands of dollars through the system. Yeah, he'll be there on the leaderboard.
Yeah, there's some big names here that once you find out who some of these usernames actually who they're representing. Yeah, there's some big players here in the finance, and I think that's key to get on. I mean, people in the finance community are going to go to what's most feasible, and that's why personally for me, if Cardsphere, I know that Cardsphere has a lot of the typical Puka trade type audience that just like to trade. I think that's why a reason I'm able to get a lot of the cards that I get for such a low price is people just want to trade. There's a fun factor to trading. But I mean that's going to be able to be very lucrative for people like me that do like to run the speculations and the finance type stuff. So that's very interesting, because the fees I think are actually very reasonable for cashing out. I know that when we first talked, you guys put the fee in place just to make it so that people would be incentivized to keep it within the system, so you didn't get a lot of people that just wanted to make a quick buck. And that's interesting. There's that many people that cash out.
Yeah, it's actually a dual purpose, right? As you said, it creates a little barrier and promotes the reuse of the money that's in the system. And a lot of the cases, the money is reused multiple times before it gets cashed out. And it also makes sure that our economy model is sustainable, that we can cash out people. And it has a bit of a profit margin for us to keep the operations going.
Yeah, well, and that's very important too. I think you guys deserve this to
we're,
be.
We're not hiding the fact that not full 10% is going to third parties for all those cash operations. There's still something left for us, and I hope people understand that us as a company, Cardsphere as a company, being on a solid financial footing is beneficial for the whole community of traders on Cardsphere.
At the same time, our new push, the past couple of weeks and entering into 2018, is to start using some of the money more effectively to grow the community. The three of us, at this point at least, are not paying ourselves. We're not drawing a salary from the system, but we've started sponsoring. We sponsor a streamer now who was a member of our Discord community. His name's Sahan, and he's from the UK. And we were just impressed by him. You know, he's a very smart young man, and he could talk intelligently about the game. And I played a lot of MTGO with him, just sort of pickup games. And, you know, we talked about it and thought, hey, you know, if we're going to sponsor anyone, let's start with one of our own. And that's sort of our philosophy. We're starting to develop out some of the relationships that we've made in the Magic community, and we want them to be profitable and positive for everyone.
Well, I think that's kudos to you guys. I can tell you, as a person that was a very, very small voice, it was that first sponsorship that kept me going and got me to the place that I am today. So I'm glad you guys are actually leading the charge there with these smaller names. So anyway, let's just talk about, I guess you were talking a little bit about so let's just talk about now how the service, so how you trade. So where do you get the baseline for the prices? I mean, you don't have to do your sources, but just explain the prices. Because that was a huge issue that I had with Puka Trade. That was, I think, my very first issue was with remember everyone used to change their name to bonuses? Like, so.
Yeah.
So just explain a little bit about the economy process of Cardsphere.
Do you want to take that one, Michael?
Yeah, for sure. We have something called the index price on Cardsphere for every card that is tradable, and we source that from several sources, and we amalgamate and mix and process that pricing information before it lands in Cardsphere. People tell us that it's somewhere between TCG player low and TCG player mid, although it's hard to tell when so many sources are being worked with. But most importantly, it serves as a good reference for people, whatever it is, TCG low, TCG mid, something else low, something else mid, doesn't matter, as long as it's a stable reference point for prices to compare for people. And from there, people are free to set their own offers as a percentage of that index price, with the ability to hard cap it with a dollar value. And that's the base of the price setting on Cardsphere. It allows for pretty flexible basically price setting, and allows the prices to adjust themselves to the market conditions, right? So the actual prices at which cards are traded change all the time. We are tracking them and displaying that statistics on the front page as this table that you can actually show to people if you want, Kevin.
Right now I'm just showing how I just went through on the screen and showed how you add to the good old want list. So you have it on the tabs above here. You have your haves, your wants, sending, receiving, charge. So I just put an Emrakul of the Antorn. Someone requested one at our store today. We actually do have some of these in stock. It's just on my mind. And for example, like was just explained, you can put the price that you want to pay for it. So, and then here, a really good tip too, if you're using Cardsphere, is then go and look at the last 10 trades and the top 10 offers, and it can give you kind of a baseline of where you're going to get the card at. So the last card was traded for $34.45, which is 90% of the index price. And I have a few videos on where I think Cardsphere plays a huge role, where the economy becomes its own, like, economy is when you compare it to buy lists, is where between buy lists and TCG low is where I think that it's very that you're gonna get a card. if you put it that. And that for me is about 80%.
Exactly. If you think about it, the basic premise for Cardsphere's existence is that the margin on between buy list and retail is sometimes huge. It's 50% of the value, right? Or it's you buy for $1, sell for $2. That's the basic idea. And on Cardsphere, the sellers and the buyers usually tend to split that margin, so they can benefit from both ends of this deal, right? And depending on the card itself, on the value, whether it's bulk or whether it's a staple, this percentage tends to shift a little bit. But that's the whole idea, right? So the buyers are incentivized to purchase on Cardsphere because they can get a better deal than retail, and they're incentivized to add money into the system. And the sellers are incentivized to sell because they're going to get a better deal than just buy listing their cards. In a lot of cases, they wouldn't be even able to buy list the cards because nobody is going to take them. So that's the whole idea why Cardsphere has value for people.
We even are beginning to see, Kevin, people hunting for the offers, finding a third-party source on on the internet, just a shop or anyone doing business, and getting them directly shipped to the receiver. And we're 100% fine with that. That's great. More traffic, more card flow is always going to be better.
Yeah, and so I just pulled up Emrakul. You can do a little comparison here. So on the higher end cards, you'll see the spread a lot lower. For it'll be closer and closer and closer to that, I would say, the TCG market price or some of these other prices you can get it anywhere else, like the eBay. Usually Cardsphere is always going to be lower in my experience. So for example, the last card traded for Emrakul was $34.45. Was traded actually yesterday. So that's a good sign. And then there's someone that wants it right now at $31.93. However, if you were to go to buy list it, the highest buy lister was $25 right now. So again, if you're looking to get Emrakul quick, you want to go and match or beat this person that's got it at 31. But if you want to get it in a reasonable time, I think putting it above the buy list, you'll eventually receive it, which is where I found there are a lot of tricks and tips that I've found with Cardsphere. One is put a card up for a really good, like 91%, 85%, somewhere around that area, and then people will naturally throw on other cards to make the package more sweet. And so that's how I've been able to get a bunch of cards. Like I said, where I like a lot of these cards at my shop are between the $2 to $5 card range is what sells really well here. So I'll get these $2 cards for 50 cents, and it's because
we call that anchor.
Yeah, it's I think that they're, for people that love to kind of mess around with this sort of stuff, it's been very enjoyable. As I mean, a lot of times, especially when you make Magic your job, work becomes work. It's no longer a hobby, but I've still had a lot of fun kind of playing around with the cards for numbers, trying to find the ideal slot to. And the opposites already happened. I've actually sent off cards that I've received on Cardsphere for a better price. So if you want to play the market that way, patience it works here too. It's been quite a ride for me, and with the more users, the merrier. So let's just go over, I guess. So now we've talked about kind of how the system works. Is there anything we haven't touched on as far as? I guess we can compare it to the Puka before this. My biggest issue with Puka, what I like to joke about, is everyone changed their name to Bonus. Is the Puka trade was fixed on an external. So they have. I think they anchored. I don't even know their source, but it's very similar to, like, I would even say between TCG mid and TCG high a lot of times for the Puka trade. And I made out like a bandit, sending off worthless cards for full value, which there's no way, no how in the real world you can do that. We're talking about a lot of these rares that then happen on eBay or Amazon. The only way that they're worthwhile to sell them is when you can get 50 cents to $1 a piece. And so Puka would honor that and it was just crazy when they fixed the price where there's no way to change it, where people could exploit that, and it's something that I think was the biggest downfall to the entire system. So being able to manipulate the prices, giving a percentage of what you're willing to pay, I think is been the biggest game changer, and overall will be the health of the platform. So,
yeah,
can I ask a weird question?
Sure.
It seems so obvious that you could offer the price you want to offer for a card, right? I mean,
yeah.
Okay. I just wanted.
Well, you know what, guys? I'm like many people. I wish that the original Puka Trade model of an index price and no adjustment, I wish that was something that could actually work, but it can't, right? And I've talked to a lot of traders in the last year, and I think many of us pine for that, because then you don't have to do the thinking about it and the extra planning and the finance game. So I think that for a lot of traders that's kind of a desirable thing, but that genie's never going back into the bottle, right?
Yeah, I too can see the appeal. I talk to people who think that's the holy grail of trading, set prices and everybody, group hugs each other and sends to each other. That's not how things work in real life, right? We know that bulk cards are bulk and worth nothing, and then staples are in demand, and you have to figure out who gets that staple, right? And the only way is to price bid on it. So,
well, it's not just
market.
It's not just that. It's Cardsphere is a global business. I mean, how many countries do we have? I think it's in our year end. We definitely have,
We don't serve a couple of countries which are under sanctions of Canada.
Right, but we have active traders in 30, 40 countries, something like this. Yeah. And the market's different everywhere, right? Kevin, you yourself, you're talking about how foils are more or less useless for you, but for someone else, they're very valuable, right? So we enable people to make their offers and to fulfill other people's offers at whatever rate is correct. And using one index price from one region is fine, is great if you're using it as the sort of anchor against which the offers are made, so people can adjust regionally. But as the be-all, end-all, it's just the truth is not going to be the truth everywhere.
Exactly. So North America compared to Europe, compared to Japan, very different markets.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's actually something that comes up quite often, because we use English-only pricing while we do support the other languages. But the idea of getting language-appropriate pricing is more or less impossible for the same reason, because for North Americans, Russian or Japanese cards might be seen as more valuable. Certainly in Ottawa, where I'm from, a lot of EDH players like to use non-English cards to sort of pimp the deck out.
They're evil.
But yeah, so no one can read the cards except for Michael. But in Japan, a Japanese card is just a card, right? There's no extra intrinsic value to it.
Yeah, well, and to be honest, I don't think that's. I think that the ability for people to set their own prices mitigates any sort of price discrepancy to begin with. We're seeing that you offer sealed product to be sent to. We've already seen people, of course, the MSRP on a specific product that is 3 years old isn't going to matter anymore, so someone can bump it up to the actual price of it to try to make a competitive offer, and the same can be done with anything. So I think that what Cardsphere regulates itself is the really good thing. It doesn't. There are a lot of times price spikes killed people on Puka Trade as well, because it was so slow at updating. And in here, right here on your wants, there's a way to stop against price spikes. You just add. So for example, I've got this Wandering Fumarole, and I've got this limit that I only want. If it goes above 75, if 75 cents goes above my 51 percentile, then it will cap it at 75 cents. So that will stop you from receiving those. I got burned a couple times on Puka Trade, and probably burn some people on Puka Trade. I'd usually try to work with the people if it's like, hey, it spiked up, you know. If
Do you know we have another protection feature?
Yes, you did. You implemented it puts them on hold, right, during Pro Tours on.
Well, not exactly, right? So we can predict bans and unbans, and usually the most devastating news is the unpredictable type, right? So going on schedule doesn't work. Anything that is price based doesn't work because we're lagging behind on the price setting front and a lot of times, right? So one thing that works is actually human input. So on every card page we have this report link, report a problem, and if several people within a fixed time frame report, right here, report issue, report a card as being problematic, we're going to hold trades for this card for a 24-hour period of time and notify all people who wanted that card, who have that card listed on their want list. Hey guys, make sure that that's still what you want, right? So not only protects from spikes, because we have already built-in protection from spikes with the price cap, but it also protects from drops. So the famous or infamous Splinter Twin ban, right? So this is the feature that is designed to protect from those occurrences.
Michael often speaks of the Splinter Twin ban because it's probably the worst thing that's ever happened to him.
And let's keep it this way.
I don't know.
I picked up a playset of Splinter Twins on Puka Trade right before the ban, so that was awesome.
That's not their fault.
Fair.
So basically, it is a community-sourced way for the community to protect itself from announcements and bans and unbans and who knows what, which could cause price spikes and price drops. So our goal is to make sure that people don't get cards they don't want, and do get cards they do want.
Right, and the other thing is, this is not really a feature that your average casual user is going to know about. So the people that will know about it, are like you, Kevin. They're hardcore users. They're people that are committed to the platform and who are going to do it in good faith. And when people report it, we do see who flagged the card, that sort of thing. So we're going to watch it for abuse. So far, it's never been triggered. So we'll have to see what happens.
Neither
in the next
triggered
couple
nor
of
abused.
months.
Alrighty, so that I think we've covered most of the basis of how Cardsphere operates. I guess I'm going to go a little bit of a fanboy here on my experience with Cardsphere, and then we can leave it open to a Q&A for anyone that has specific questions while we have the Cardsphere guys on. So first of all, Cody in the chat says, as long as Cardsphere remains friendly and fair for traders and small-time collectors, he's 100% in. I guess that's the only thing I can vouch for is I think, like, time flies for me. So how long have I known the Cardsphere? I was user number 2,226. So that's how long I've kind of, and I think I actually talked with you guys before I joined Cardsphere. I'm not quite sure the time frame on it, but that's probably the biggest difference between my experience with Cardsphere and my experience with some of the services before Cough Puka Trade is just the difference in Cardsphere's ability to listen is the big one. I've been on private Skype calls with Puka Trade before, and it never really seemed like they listened to me, whereas every little tiny bit of input that I have put towards their direction, Cardsphere's direction, they have listened and implemented a lot of them. I think one of the very first one was the browse, the browse function, where I was like, I need this. This is how I trade. And I think all three of you didn't really trade this way. And it was just what you guys like to import your entire collections and then make trades based on it. Whereas, my God, my collection is huge here, and it's decreasing and increasing every day. It's a mess to deal with inventory. But so where I like to trade is say, oh man, I've got way too many of these balances from Eternal Master. So I'll come up over here and then look at the top 10 offers. Say, oh, there we go. There's the person that wants the. Is that a reasonable trade? Sure. Then I'll click on it and then go add to my halves and then change it. So that's one huge shout out that I can do for Cardsphere is they listen and implement at a very timely manner. And like they said earlier, this isn't their bread and butter at this point. So the fact that they are so fast and receptive is a huge plus to running a service. So Cody, if you haven't signed up for Cardsphere, I highly can give you my stamp of approval for trustworthy. What was the other one? Fair. What's the Scouts honor? Any of you Boy Scouts?
No. I got kicked out of Beavers, which is like the Weebelows in Canada. So.
Yeah.
All right. So
hey,
RP.
I have a request of you.
Sure.
I didn't get to ask it earlier. So earlier you said that you were ringing all sorts of warning bells to Puka Trade. So I want to piggyback off of your, you indicate that we tend to listen. Please ring a warning bell for us. Please ring it. We will listen. If something's going wrong,
okay.
We will listen.
I thought you'd put me on the spot. What's a warning bell for you?
No. I want to ask the same of you that you gave to them, and promise you that we'll do different.
If you know anything about me, you don't need to ask me anything. I'm the loudest person you will ever meet. When I'm very opinionated. What's my T-shirt say? My parents gave me this. If you guys can see the T-shirt, I don't know if you can see what it says, but it says teamwork is a lot of people doing what I say. We could bring Zach in here to ask what it's like to be, a business partner with someone who's so opinionated, and I'm sure he can tell you horror stories. So yeah, I would not be worried about me staying silent. If I start to have any issues with Cardsphere, I'm sure you'll hear about it quickly.
That's actually another thing you'll find in our year-end review article on the blog. It ends with a promise from sort of a notorious Cardsphere user named his handle's Wodeworks, and he makes a number of our leaderboards regularly, and he's very active, strong supporter on social media, and a lot of times proponents of other systems consider him to be a troll, but he and I have a sacrosanct vow between us that if we mess up, he is going to come at us just as hard as he goes at the people that run other systems. So I decided that he's our Dread Pirate Roberts. And sort of every day the interaction with him is, good night, Cardsphere. You've done good work today. I'll most likely troll you in the morning. So I think we've got a lot of people who are ready to tell us if we make a misstep. And we've reversed one or two things that we've done because the community let us know we were doing something wrong. And the community itself, since you mentioned what we call window shopping, which is browsing and looking for deals, we didn't build that originally because none of us function that way. And the community has turned us into window shoppers. We were actually just talking about that ourselves, that, now I don't just rely on the send page. I look at the send page. I find a good anchor card where I'm getting a lot of value, and then I immediately go to that user's profile page, because on each user's profile page you can see their wants, but the rules that you set on the send page not all of them apply, or most of them don't apply. So here you can see that you're excluding offers under 74%.
Can you guess why?
No.
One guess. What happens if I put 73?
I don't know.
Dun, dun, dun.
The tweak effect.
Wait, it's 73. It used to be 72 and 71.
He's gone down to 68 before. Yeah, he's a very smart economist. So it's so I always
73.
just try to.
We're growing.
Yeah. Well, it's definitely economic I'm sure he messes around with his supply of Cardsphere. I'm sure he's got an entire equation. Give me one while you're in there.
What?
Whatever. See, Zach's my waiter as well.
I like to think of Peter as having like chalkboards and dashboards, and one of these days, Peter, if you're listening, you have to show us the twig effect layer and see what's happening there.
See, I hate to actually showcase this hide offers because you'll never find me on here. But this is, again, I am a different, I want to put that out there. So don't think I'm a greedy person. Cardsphere has a different niche for me than it's going to have for most people because I'm a buyer, not really a sender. I've actually put money in to Cardsphere more. So I can't remember what my other deposits were. It hasn't been much because I have been able to find some good masterpieces to send off at this rate, but I'm not actively looking to send off cards. I have a store, so I can get premium for everything. So I'm a different classification of people, so don't get turned off by this hide, because a lot of times if you're going to be sending anything from under the $2 range, you're going to need to be lower than this 74%, because just go check out any buy list. There were some cards I was looking at that they're Hissing Quagmire and Smoldering, or the white black one, have been cards I've been actively speccing into, and I feel like I overpaid even at 51% on Cardsphere because there is not one vendor actively buying them. So it's got its own little different categories. I think in your front page you kind of show here what the average card is being sent for. So 60% at the 0 to 1, 75 at the 1 to 5, and then it goes up from there. So you can see with me, usually most of the cards that I have on here on my send are going to be foils. And so people do tend to pay more of a premium price. So it's just, if I were to lower this, I'd just get way too many hits that I don't want to be sending off at. I know that these cards have higher demand than your average card. So anyway, so this is definitely a number you need to mess around with. And that's what I really like about, it's not worth it for me to send a package under $2. So of course I put it at $2, but the browse really helps too here. So say for example, if I find a package that I'm like, man, I really want to send this card off, but it's not worthwhile, like these 2 Bantu's Last Reckoning. So I'll go over to the profile of the person. It doesn't show any information, right? If I click on their profiles, I guess it's public information, right? They can't.
It's all of the information.
So, so we'll come here and be like, oh, okay. This person also has a card, this Hannah Ship Navigator that I can throw in the package. 75. That's a reasonable rate. I can even come here and then go add. It's just Cardsphere has become more and more convenient per day, and they continue to do that. One of their latest function I was really excited about, and that's while I have you guys on, I have a few requests for it as well, and see how hard they'd be to implement. So there you go. I'd added a Hannah Ship's Navigator, 2 Bantu's Last Reckoning, and then you could review it. You click You're Not a Robot, so they can get around the bots. Just that's what happened with Puka Trade, is the bots took over for a little bit when it was so automated. And I'm sure that's why you have the CAPTCHA.
Yeah, Tom wrote one of those bots.
Yeah.
Oh, don't call me out. Shit.
Tom wrote Pukado.
There you go.
he also, Tom had another business with Peter Twig, which was pukapoints.com.
Pukapoints.com, huh? Is that where he sold them?
For, what, 6 hours, Tom?
It lasted like half a day. So it's a funny story. I have a blog post of it somewhere. You can find it somewhere.
So it's just
don't call me out, Ted.
Just becomes more and more user friendly as time goes on. This is your holy trinity of developers here that will listen to. So anyway, that's one of the requests too. I think that we talked about, a lot of us, I think I sent you a private message about this best offers, and it might not work for me, but I think this will eventually get more people trading with the best offers. However, I would like to see more parameters here. So if there's a way you guys can implement, get rid of the sealed product box, get rid of the non-English users and non-English cards, anything that could reduce that down, I think that I'd use this function a lot more. So this was just recently implemented, by the way, to all the people watching.
Yeah.
So it's got some room to grow.
We can definitely do that, and that's what we do, right? we don't want features to sit in development for more than a week or two at max, right? We have to release it, and then people give us their feedback, and we're going to add an action on that feedback, right? If people tell us that, hey, I need to filter by X, Y, Z, not a big deal. We're just going to throw it in.
Why do we do it that way, Michael?
Aren't you the agile evangelist, Tom?
I'm asking. It's a rhetorical question. It's obvious because the people using it will tell us what they want, and we will listen. It's obvious.
You're not you're not the mother of the. That's what I don't want this to be this big trash on Puka, but they used to tell me that how to trade all the time, and I'd get these because again, it's not like I was a small deal. I think my channel before the YouTube algorithm kicked me in the nuts was a lot more relevant than it was back during the Puka trade than it is even today. So I was one of the bigger voices in the community, especially for Puka trade, and just the amount of them telling me how I should do business was just the biggest slap in the face. I'm like, are you kidding me? I know what's best for me. You don't know what's best for me. I want to know what's best for me to use your service. And for them not wanting to listen, it was a huge turnoff. So kudos to you guys for, always listening to the input, even though I'm sure some of it that you receive from people probably even me specifically might be a little bit unreasonable. But speaking of feedback, though, I think we can get to some Q&As. Efren, you're on the, I see your name is on the chat. I made you a moderator, so if you can go ahead and compile some Q&As, or if people just at me, because if you at Rogue Deck Builder, it shoots this big orange box where I can actually see things. So if you have a question, we'll have see if Efren can scroll back in chat and see if there's any that I've missed. But I think that we have one here from Cody. What is the purpose of the premium membership? Anyone want to? I'm a premium member. It gives a little nice. First of all, the whole reason why I did the premium membership here is you got to vote with your wallet. If you like something, that's the best way to do it. That's why a lot of us run, Patreons. That's why I tend to shop at places that treat me right, because that's what keeps them in business. So regardless if this thing even did anything, I would still be a premium member. So it was kind of I knew that these guys weren't making bank. I mean, you can do a very simple mathematical equation here to see if there's a cash out, if all this was cashed out, how little of money that would actually be as far as the fees and cash out fees that goes to developing the software. So it was my way of just giving them a big ouch. Well, it's growing. It's growing. Is my way of giving a thumbs up and voting with my wallet by giving this premium membership. So I highly encourage that if you are enjoying Cardsphere, to go ahead and sign up for premium. It keeps them in business, and that's the best thing you can do to keep a service you like running. So, and it was very reasonable, and you guys are still developing a lot of perks with that, is what I understand. With
right.
the premium. Right now, I know it highlights the your user. So if you go to send, you will see the people. If I go back down to 73%, we can show Peter here. He's highlighted. You get that cute, nice little badge. And
if you click on your balance, Kevin, you'll see another one of the more useful features right now, which is that you can export your ledger. And that's the button in the top right.
So download history?
Yeah.
Yep.
And so a lot of the people who pay for premium are power traders and want to get the data out. So this is one of the reasons that, or one of the first benefits with the premium. But we've got many more planned. And in fact, we had the code for premium written and finished for, I think, 2 or 3 months before we released it, because we didn't want to release it without offering any substantial value. But one thing that has happened since we launched is that lots of people have suggested that they want us to do a Patreon or want us to do an Indiegogo, and just because of the community memory around that sort of thing, we don't want to take money from our users that way. So we eventually just stopped sitting on it and rolled the code out there. And I think we've got something like 40 premium users now, and that's fine. We expect to have many more as we put the value there. Right now, it's mostly people like yourself who are voting with their dollars and showing support, but there will be lots of value coming to the premium membership in 2018, and we'll do a better job of raising the profile of premium when we're a little bit more impressed with the value that it offers. So.
Yeah, and I have to assure most of our users that the core features and the features that you have right now are not going to get paywalled. So everything you see and more is coming into the free tier. We're always we are always going to be of the opinion that the free tier is the bread and butter, is the backbone of a trading website like ours, and anything that hinders card flow is going to be squashed and is going to be out of the picture.
Right.
So you're not going to tax us $3 a month?
No.
Not really.
They got rid of
No,
that
nothing
now, though,
like
right?
that.
So
Dues.
the dues.
Dues, like you owe them.
Here's your dues. Everyone needs to send me a card per month.
Pay your
I'm
dues.
actually, do you know what? I'm actually going to start using this. I have a video coming out because people keep asking for it. I get so many private messages, especially since I lost the Gathering Magic sponsorship. Well, how can we keep, helping you do what you do? And one of the things I'm going to put is send me cards on Cardsphere, because I'm the type of person, I just don't like to get money for nothing. And even though I create content, if my Patreon feels like it's like money for nothing in a way, and so I want to always like at least someone gets something out of it. I don't want to take donated cards. I don't want to just that sort of thing. So Cardsphere is a great way to scratch 2 backs at once. If you like my content and like Cardsphere, then send me some cards that you're just not. I know that I'm a lot of times not the highest on here, but I still receive cards, and I think it is because of the kind of the rogue deck builder factor. But I bet we can click on any one of these cards, and I'm not the lowest person that's on there that still receive them. See, there I am at the low.
That's totally cool. You put out a lot of content. I mean, I've followed your content for years, and the content that I like the most is brewing, and I wish I was the brewer that you are. So I live out my brewing dreams watching your stuff, Kevin.
Well, speaking of a little collaborative project, maybe in the future, whenever I get my act together, maybe that's a good way on my site. Maybe I can put up a quote-unquote buy list and just have it linked directly to Cardsphere. I think that'd be a pretty cool feature.
We actually, if you remember when you signed up, Kevin, we ask when people sign up whether or not they're a business. And that's because we want to, at some point in the future, produce retail, specific features for retailers. I think we have something like 50 businesses that are using Cardsphere right now. And there's not a lot of great solutions for the small LGS, right? Mm-hmm. And someone like you maybe can't afford to get into some of the more expensive systems like Crystal Commerce, right? But you can afford to use Cardsphere.
Oh, absolutely. I can talk about that for a second. Well, first of all, here's been my miserable experience with TCG Player. We set up a TCG Player Pro because it's free. They build you a site. They are been a little bit disingenuous with us with the fees. They're supposed to give you a better fee structure. And a lot of times we scratch our head because like, wait a second, that should have come directly from our site. We shouldn't have got feed. There's a lot of issues with that. And TCG Player's buy list, I will never use it again. Here's my story about TCG Player buy list. So I bought a card called Transgress the Mind when it bottomed out for 5 cents a piece from TCG Player. A bunch of them, 5-10 cents a piece back during its, because that's a very smart thing to do as a speculator. I love trash uncommon comment, well not trash, usable common uncommons at the height of their draft. That's when you buy into them. You sell out of them 2 or 3 sets down the road. And so I had bought a ton of Transgress the Minds for 5 cents a piece. TCG Player buy list, when that card spiked up to the $1, $2 mark, had them on there for like 80 cents on the buy list. And so the same cards that I had purchased from TCG Player were still in the package, still in the little sleeve that they send them in. I tried to send them back, and they downgraded them, said they weren't near mint. And so
Wow.
I refused to ever use them again because of that. So I mean, it becomes a huge headache with a lot of when you're a smaller. I still consider my store more of a hobby store rather than a store because we are in Richfield, Utah, population 8,000. There should not be a local game store here. It's the only reason that it functions is we have very our operating hours are just after we work, we come here and open the store. So it's neither one of us are married, so we don't have a family life to go home to. So the store is our family life. So that's how it functions here in this. So we're in a different niche. We can't afford the Crystal of Commerce setup and things like that. Like you said, it just makes sense. Someone just asked a question: can you use Cardsphere to start a small business? If you have a good game plan, well, we already see people like Peter that do. I mean, he uses multiple different systems to make. There are very successful people that make a full-time living off of MTG Finance. Now, I use it mainly just to keep my card collection actually gaining value rather than hemorrhaging value, because the vast majority of Magic players, they lose their value as time goes on. And if you manage it correctly, that won't happen. Plus, you'll be able to play the game for free. That's how I've been doing it for years and years, and Cardsphere is perfect for that. So I guess my answer to, who was it, to Deck 2200 Mega, yes, you could actually, absolutely. What I love the most about Cardsphere is bridging the gap between buyers and sellers. So if you actually look at where we used to be, when I started playing Magic again during, it was second block of Scars of Mirrodin, whatever that block was, or set after Scars of Mirrodin, the Star City Games was the gold standard. And if you sold to Star City Games, you got about 25% of their listing price for it, 20 to 25%. And so that was and most stores would do that as well. They would not only use the Star City Game sell price, they'd use the Star City Game buy price. And that was huge, those gaps. Now you can just completely not even play that game. And everyone is on an equal playing field with Cardsphere. And like we said, it's brought shops in as well as power traders in, as your average everyday Joe that just happens to open up a Scarab God and wants a decent value for it. So yeah, absolutely, you can use this as a starting place too. The way that we were able to start our store was through savvy trading and collecting. We actually did not start Gonro Games with any, what I would like to say, liquid capital. It was all cards that we were able to kind of start the base of our store. We bought it like a booster box of all of the sets, all of the standard legal sets, and just put an open sign on the front of the door, and away we went. And so, yeah, this is a good way to, if you're planning on it in the future. I know every nerd's dream is to open up a game store. I would highly suggest you not doing it, because most of the time it's more of a headache than it is a benefit. But anyway, yeah, this is a great service for that.
Wait, can you repeat that last part? I'm sorry.
Well,
that last bit of advice. What was it?
Don't open a game store.
Shit, Ted.
I know.
What do we do?
If people have to be realistic about it, is the thing. You're entering into a genre that has bad profit margins compared to other businesses, and is very dependent on just the overall health of games. So there's a natural ebb and flow to CCGs and board games and stuff like that, and it's especially here in Utah, we're going to see a lot of people go bankrupt, and we just got oversaturated with game stores in especially the Salt Lake area for game stores, and it's just because everyone thinks that they can run a successful game store, and it's a lot tougher than
I want to paraphrase that and say that don't open an online trading platform.
We know there are other players coming into the space, and we wish them the best of luck. So
it'll keep us on our toes, right?
That's right.
But
I can totally get you. What Tom was joking about is, we kind of have a little bit of a dream. There's a retail spot like 3 blocks from my house, and it would just be perfect for a game shop. It's got everything around a game shop that you need. But Ottawa itself, where Michael and I live, that's Ottawa, Canada, is a huge gaming town. We have a lot of quality LGSs here, and we've also seen a lot of board game cafes try to open up and shut down. So the board game cafes don't seem to have the lasting power, but we have, I would say, in the region about 10 solid gaming stores that are completely respectable. And beyond that, Ottawa itself has a couple of Magic companies. I don't know if you've ever heard of Cardamajigs, but they make excellent tokens and other quality products for Magic players, and they're in town. This week, actually, the owners of Cardamajigs found the Duels of the Planeswalkers, whatever the recent board game was, in the dollar store.
Oh, that was
and
their little tweet that.
Yeah.
The clearance of those.
Yeah, the $4 clearance. So I said, "Hey, which dollar?" I tweeted out to him, "Which dollar store is it?" And Rico, the owner of Cardamajig, said, "Don't worry, I'll pick one up for you." So I'm going to go out for lunch with him on Friday and collect my $4 board game and pick up some of his products from him.
I got a 6-7-year-old kid that I need to transition from Pokemon to Magic. Come on, I need the board game.
I can get you a board game from Rico for sure. He showed a picture and he had his dollar store shopping basket. He had, I think, 6 or 7 Guitar Heroes for the Wii, and 6 or 7 of the what is it called, the board game? Arena of the Planeswalkers or something?
Yeah.
Anyway, he had multiple copies. I'll tweet out to him after the cast here and say Michael wants one too.
Yeah.
But Kevin, I was going to say that your store can't be that small or modest. Word gets around, and I hear someone drove from California to Utah to come visit your shop.
Yeah, is Frank still in the chat? Frank?
Was Frank in there?
Yeah, he's definitely. It looks like he might still be in here. Good old Frank. Frank is a very energetic person.
Yeah, he's a character of note.
Talked my ear off, which is good because I'm a talker as well. I am definitely a very social person, so that's one of my favorite. Probably my favorite thing about Magic is the people I've met through the game, and that's why I can't stand this whole push towards Arena, is because I don't play Magic for the game aspect. I have better games. To me, there are better games out there. At least for me, I'm a huge StarCraft and a huge Dota player. So those are my loves as far as the gaming world goes. Magic is it's a social game. It's my golf. I am not my father. I don't go golf with my golfing buddies. He had this huge argument with my brother growing up when he had got a job with a company, and he was like, "Oh, I got this job because I go golfing with them, and that's how I met this other manager of this other company, and business cards were exchanged." And that we had this argument how I'd never get anywhere in life if I didn't golf. And it's kind of funny because I met a lot of people that then had opportunities for me, work opportunities through Magic. And so it's my social kind of bonding game that I like. So it was awesome meeting Frank. I think he's commenting, Frank. There he is. There's Frank on the chat. So yeah, so definitely if you're ever in the area, anyone's ever in the area driving through Denver to LA, that's a miserable drive, by the way, especially in the winter. So if you want to stop off in Richfield, say hello. Our store, sometimes I get kind of a little bit embarrassed talking about the store because it's just we are literally this tiny little closet. It has to do with overhead. A game store without dedicated employees and being not being the income of it's you need to keep the overhead incredibly low, and so that's why we chose the place that we chose. I did a little bit
Kevin,
about
it's not the size that matters, man.
Giggity, huh?
Yeah.
So yeah, so I mean it's cozy though. We have a great little community. I think we got a good 10 people in. When Frank came, we were dead as dead. God, I think Frank came around the holidays though, right after, and yeah, we were dead for a whole week there. But now we're back to You know, it's the people. It's kind of funny. I like to joke that there are so many parents in this area that owe me child alimony for raising their kids and buying them food. There are so many kids that come to my store that have been here for hours without food, and so we'll just do a Wendy's run to make sure these kids at least have. Ugh! Don't get me started on that. All my dependents that I have here at this store.
That's awesome, though. You know, for Cardsphere, one of the most important things, as I've said, is that we're giving back to the community, and we've had a couple of opportunities to do that. And where we can, we especially like to help with any children's charities, that sort of thing. You heard me mention earlier Rich Doug Montalvo, but we also have a Poor Doug. And Poor Doug did a, what was it? He did a 24-hour live stream. I forget the name of it, like Game Over or something. And that was in support of some children's charities. So, you know, we tweeted that out. We donated ourselves. We did the same thing with Young Mage. And I had been following Young Mage's YouTube channel pretty much since he came out, because I thought that it was just so awesome that someone his age, you know, with his father's help, was putting out such quality content, and you know, I wanted to just support him just as a watcher. And
they're in the chat too, by the way. They were. Oh, yep, they are. Yep, they're in the chat.
Hey guys, the way we got in contact with them, it's one of those things about the Magic community coming together. Rhino Young Mage had tweeted out something about, I guess they live in a more rural area, and he didn't get a lot of candy. And, you know, so I tweeted back, hey, you know, I'll send you some candy. I love what you're doing. And he replied that he'd rather have cards. And so we sent him a bunch of cards, and we went into our Discord and said, hey, guys, Young Mage, let's send him cards. And so I think a few folks did from our Discord as well. And so we've been trying to support him in what he does. He did an epilepsy fundraiser, and we sponsored him for that, because what amazing work for a young man to be doing. And this shows you the good that can happen, because Papa Mage, his dad, is now a featured writer on our blog. And he did a great first article that we released yesterday, I think, about using magic in his home to help raise his children. And he's going to write some standard content for us as well. Well, I don't mean standard format. He's going to write other more magic-related content and, you know, evaluation, deck text, that sort of thing. So look for more from him in the future. But that's how these relationships can start and be super positive and just be great for everyone in both directions, you know? So that's what is making this really worth it for us. We're not becoming millionaires by any means, but we are meeting great people and having a lot of fun building these relationships.
Yeah, it's a blast. That's the one thing I've gotten out of it. It's been very, very rewarding in that way. Like I said, I get that aspect out of it that I don't get out of Dota. I become an angry, vile person after a couple games of Dota, because it's the most selfish game ever, where you just yell at each other. It's very similar to League of Legends, if people are. But don't you dare compare it to League of Legends. I'll cut you.
I had to quit League because of that, man. It was not good for my mental health.
Well, take League and put a bigger put more spikes in it. That's Dota, because Dota, I would say, is more competitive than League. They both reach that level. But anyway, I'm a purist. Don't get me started on the League versus Dota debate. But yeah, it's like yesterday on Dota, I was so upset because my team had decided that we were going to lose the game before the game started, because I refused to play a character the way that a character is supposed to be played. So I'm the rogue deck builder. I'm going to play cards that no one plays with. I'm going to play strategies on different games the way no one does it. And oh man, before we even had the chance to fail, they already failed, because they were so upset with me for not picking anyway. But yeah, and then of course I got to get spammed, and then not only that, but after the game get spammed for 10 minutes about how I'm a horrible person and I should kill myself and delete my account. So Yeah, that's fun. But out of Magic, when you have to interact face to face with people, and then it also adds that you want to find common ground. You want to find similarities beyond just the game. And so yeah, I've been huge love for this game. I guess we should get to some questions though. I'm getting bombarded on the chat. So Efren, try to highlight some of these. We have I think Inner City Penguin had a question that he's been spamming me about. Where'd that one go? Chat is pretty decently. Okay, so I was wondering. Okay, where's your other one? Inner City re-at me. There's a lot of them I've missed here. Oh, so let's go with the Young Mage one. He wants to ask, is there a Cardsphere widget planned that I can add to my website? I guess that's kind of the same thing we were talking about with adding. I kind of want to add a buy list and have it just link it directly to Cardsphere.
Right. That's actually something I was talking about recently with the owner of, do you know edhrec.com?
Yep.
So he and I were talking, and he suggested that sort of thing, and certainly lots of websites have that kind of thing. Buy this here, buy this there. Whereas it would be, I guess, add this to my Cardsphere wants. There's some technical challenges. Michael, maybe you could explain what those would be a little bit, like you explained them to me, but I don't think it's impossible.
No, it's definitely not impossible, but you see, because we're the reversed marketplace where people are selling cards, not buying them. It basically prevents us from being able to offer like a referral margin type of on the sold cards, because typically if you had like a TCG Player widget or any other stores widget, right, and somebody goes buys a full deck worth of cards from them, you get a cut, and that's why people actually place those widgets on their websites. And because our system was reversed and we're not able to track what happens, that's not how it works. So we're not able to offer this, and therefore we believe that a lot of people would not place that widget for Cardsphere on their website because we have no way of properly compensating them for that. However, if we feel that there is a demand for this type of widget, even without that compensation angle on it, then yeah, definitely we could do that. So that's what the situation is, I think.
Like a lot of things, we're sort of monitoring it as the nascent idea right now, and we'll see what kind of demand wells up for it. I think that it's a good idea. It's one we need to think about a little bit more. And the other thing is, because we have limited resources, we need to make sure that we are doing the most good for the most users. And so I'm not sure if that would be the most good for the most users, but that doesn't mean it's off the table forever.
Any follow-ups, Young Mage? Did that answer your question? Oh, we have another question too. Is said, where did that one go, man?
While you look for that, also to Young Mage, if you could send us an email and let us know sort of what you want that widget to look like and how you want it to function and what do you want it to show. Like, just tell us what you want, and yeah, that'd be great for us to add to our understanding of that.
Yeah, we have, just for anyone listening, at the bottom of in our footer on Cardsphere, you've got links to all of our communities. There's Discord, there's Reddit, Twitter, Facebook, and we are monitoring all of those avenues regularly, and we're very responsive. If you talk to us, we're going to talk back, and we keep all of the ideas, and we have a massive to-do list, and we're just chopping away at it all the time, guys. And we do let the community lead that as much as possible.
So MTG Spotlight asks, are you two, Kevin and Cardsphere, going to collaborate on something in the future? I never plan more than a day ahead of my life, so I can say that I'm sure that these will happen often as things update. Like I said, I enjoy the service. I enjoy these guys, and so I'm sure whenever I can give them a plug, I will. One thing I have been impressed though is I know from the very start too. I think that before we knew each other quite well, you guys made it very clear that you weren't in the business of buying people or being bought yourself, and that's what kind of impressed me at the first. I think it was our first little Skype call. That was like I had suggested that maybe you should make a deal with the devil and get one of these bigger names on board, and you were very much against that idea, which actually won points with me because it does, I think, take away. I think that's one of the problems with Puka was at least it was one of my huge problems too, is when we found out people were reviewing the app getting paid to do so, and that never, that always sets up a dangerous precedent. So I that is also too where I've tried to distance myself, or at least get or make it known there is absolutely nothing that I am receiving out of this sort of collaboration or whatever you want to call it with Cardsphere. Everything that, and nor they aren't, I'm not paying them anything. Well, I kind of did give you guys premium, so I guess you guys are in my pocket. Just
That's it. It's over.
But I mean,
no.
so basically, what I'm trying to say is that everything that's been done so far is all my videos or all of everything that's been back and forth has just been mutual, I guess, respect or mutual just admiration for, for their service and whatnot. So.
We bought you a couple of drafts on MTGO, but
that is true.
That wasn't just for you.
And they need to.
We do that for our community, and we try our best to get everyone in the same pod. And then MTGO sucks. Yep. We fail. We're all in different pods.
Yeah, I don't even know if I went up against anyone. I built black-white tokens and went up against Green Ramp and got destroyed 2 games in a row by a Sundering Titan and a. Oh wow! I'm like, and I don't even get another game. MTGO, why would they do a cube with 1 game?
Because we'll keep paying.
Yeah, I know. Don't get me started on that topic. I don't want Arena. I just want them to implement everything that's been done in the gaming world in the last 20 years. Just implement it on MTGO, and then it'd be a great little platform. They don't need the bells and whistles. But who am I?
Right, and I don't mind playing. I like, once you're in the gameplay of MTGO, I quite like it.
Yeah, it does what Magic's supposed to do.
Right. I don't need little birdies flying over the battlefield or anything.
Well, the thing that turned me off about that is someone tweeted out that there won't even be an option to turn that stuff off, and I'm like, oh man, that's what's going to drive me nuts with the.
Well, you know how things like this spring into existence. Some of the couple of execs get impressed with Hearthstone, and there you go, right?
Well,
you get a project.
It's easy to get impressed with the money that Hearthstone's made.
Yep. Yeah. But there's the warning bell that I keep telling Wizards is, Hearthstone failed as a TCG or a card, a paper card game, and it had to go to the digital because it worked. And I think that Wizards is going to find the exact opposite true. It doesn't make sense to me where they have the entire market and they want to go and venture off into something that isn't quite their market. I mean, of course they are. That money, that Cardsphere money is very lucrative, but oh man, I think they should stick to what they're good at before and perfect it before they move on to something else. We still have glaring issues with like the Pro Tour coverage and just even the communication between the competitive circuit, even at a local game store level, all the way up to qualifying for a Pro Tour, which I think they can streamline a lot better. And if they were to do that properly, they could grow the player base. Probably faster than they think this arena is going to do, but that's a topic for another day.
I'm just trying to figure out how long it's going to take them to figure out that if they put the lights off to the side of the camera on top of the table,
they can see
the player is going to be gone.
Yep. So we got another question here that you're asking a bunch of Canadians and a person from Utah. Which is your favorite style of pizza, New York or Chicago?
Montreal.
I can answer this. Chicago for sure.
Chicago all the way for me too, because I don't like New York style pizza. So, but I think that's
so. Wait, Chicago is like this deep, right?
Yes.
It's like a pie, yeah.
I've never eaten one. We don't have them here.
Go to Chicago, and I highly recommend just going to a Dumpy on the corner of a street and getting a Chicago style pizza. That's some of the best food I've ever eaten. It's been a while since I've been to Chicago, but it was just one of those tiny little stores.
I like a place in Chicago called Giordano's, and right before I left Indiana, they opened up a second location in Indianapolis, and so they're in Chicago and in Indianapolis, Indiana, and I got to eat there like right before I left, and I miss it. I love Giordano's. They're not paying me any money for saying that. I wish they were, because I would say it all day for money. I love them.
And I'm thin crust all the way. I have no clue what you guys are talking about, but my
New York
pizza is my pizza is as thin crust as it gets with a minimalistic set of ingredients. I'm also vegetarian, so no meat on mine.
Oh, see, you're a California pizza style person, huh? Isn't that what California is? Is really high on the vegetable end of things, and it's like a lighter sauce, lighter
I'm
cheese.
surprisingly low on vegetables. People who know me call me starchitarian. So.
Yeah, he's not your typical vegetarian. Michael lives on wheat and cheese.
That's my my little brother when he started becoming a vegetarian, and that's what people like. My dad's actually a doctor, and so he would fight with my little brother all the time about his decision. My little brother's he's more the vegetarian for the animal rights. That's his focus on it. And so when he became a vegetarian, my dad's like, where are you getting anything from? All you're eating is cheese pizza all day long. It's cheese enchiladas and cheese pizzas or cheese. What's just the cheese and tortilla? What do they call that thing? That's just a quesadilla. That's the word. And it's like, where are you getting any? You're just getting a bunch of empty carbs and fat. And yeah, it's
amazing what human body can adapt to.
Oh yeah,
I've been like this for most of my my life. So I'm 34, and I've probably been a vegetarian for like almost 30 now, since a kid. So
yeah.
So when Kevin, you and Tom come up to Ottawa to go fishing, we'll give you the real, the nectar of the gods, which is poutine.
So is your potatoes with gravy on top of them, or your fries
cheese curds
and cheese curds?
Yeah, French fries with cheese curds and beef gravy.
I'd probably be I'm Irish to the core, so anything with potatoes in it and gravy, I'm gonna be all for. I just don't like spicy food, so Canada probably fits really well with me. I think that when I used to have my next door neighbor was from Mexico. And so I had always grown up loving Mexican food because especially at least the more urban areas of Utah, the Mexican food is very Americanized, and so it's not very spicy. And I remember going over there and being all excited for Mexican food, and came out with a different realization of what actual Mexican food is. I just can't take anything spicy, so yep.
We have a real hardcore food community in our Discord. We mentioned our Discord a couple times. Our Discord isn't, required to get trades for Cardsphere, but it is a fantastic community. We have one trading channel and then channels to interact with the Cardsphere team and report bugs or let us know about features that you want, that sort of thing, and lots of other channels where people just hang out. And one of the things that's very common, and that's especially true of the Texans, because there's a good solid Texas heart to Cardsphere, is the grilling. And Efren, who's moderating the chat there, Efren's like the fourth amigo, and he does an unbelievable amount of stuff for us. And he moderates the Discord, and he supports us with his YouTube channel, Pack Crack Fever, which everyone should check out.
Yeah, he always opens his stuff. I'm like, maybe I should open my Cardsphere haul on camera one of these times, but sometimes it's a lot of cards.
Yeah, but you got to see the grilling that these guys down in Texas do. You know, I can't wait to get down to Texas to meet all these friends of mine that I've made over the past year in person and eat these goddamn steaks.
Efren, which you're in chat, which part of Texas you from? I'm going to go down to Dallas here in a few months, but I don't know if you're in Dallas area. If you're in Dallas area, let me know. Because my brother lives in Dallas, and I've never visited him, and he's lived there for like 6 years. So I'm a bad sibling. So
are you going
clear
to
down.
Dallas to visit or to Dallas for a Magic tournament?
Well, I'd like to. I don't know. I'm not much of a competitive player anymore, but it's always fun to go to a GP and just walk around and meet people. But you know, they usually do Dallas at least every year, sometimes more than once a year. In the
we should. You and I should meet up for a Dallas GP then. So I'm in Austin, Texas. It's at least like 2 or 3 hours from Dallas, but I would drive up for that for sure.
Yeah, I'm sure that Josh and Efren and everyone would get down there and meet.
We could carpool. Yeah, that'd be awesome.
Yeah, it's one of these days I need to get down there because they keep begging me to come visit, but yeah. I don't know.
The Texas thing is just a surprising coincidence to me. I mean, I lived in Indiana my whole life, and I ended up here in Texas for work, and somehow I met all these awesome people from Texas.
Yep, there's quite a few of them in the Magic community that I've Kyle. Do you guys know who Kyle Rubianski is, or Rubias? I can never pronounce his last name. He's from Houston, so yep, there's a lot. Big MG, very smart MG Finance guy. I have him on my MG Finance podcast every now and again. We have some other questions. So, does anyone use Exile to keep track of the Cardsphere buys and how much they pay on cards? What's Exile? I've never even heard of Exile.
I haven't heard of that either.
That's not supposed to be. Exile is not referring to Microsoft. What can I think of the word right now? Excel.
Excel.
Is that what you're asking?
Let's assume it's Excel.
Kyle, speaking of Kyle does for every MTGO trade, and I just think that's so monotonous. See, there's a lot of other people that are, of course, people that get attracted to finance are going to be people that, of course, cross their T's and dot their I's. For me, as I get into personality theory quite often here on my channel, I'm in what we consider in the Myers-Briggs archetype an ENFP, which my lead functions are extrovert intuition and then introverted feelings. So every stimulation that I am facing, I'll look at my extrovert intuition, which is all about ideas, possibilities, connections, and then try to find some sort of internal value based upon those explorations. So if Magic Theory Finance for me is just trying to it's a game, and I'm trying to master it, and everything's going to lead me to a different decision. So where I fail at is the crossing the T's, dotting the I's, and really writing it all down into an Excel type format to see if I just know that I have made money, but I couldn't tell you the specifics on a lot of things to where, and that would be helpful to me. But you should see Kyle's little ledger. It is down to the cent of every little trade he's done, where he traded at, where he's sold it out at. All of his good specs, his bad specs are just right there in front of him to either haunt him or to congratulate himself with it. But I don't use it personally.
You should ask him sometime how he uses that historical data to make better decisions in the future.
Or even ask him if we could see his ledger.
Yeah, I know. He sent me a link to it. I don't know if I can share it publicly, though. He sent me a Google Drive to it just to show kind of the stuff. But yeah, there's different strokes for different folks. I just see, again, a lot of people don't put any value in personality theory, but for me, it makes a lot of sense, at least how I do things. I just know. That's the intuitive part, that I made a good trade here or there. I'm not a good bookkeeper. Today I audited my Cardsphere because I felt like I was overpaying on some cards even at 51%. So I went down my want list and reduced them. At least you'll see a bunch of these. This red mark for everyone who's looking at this means that your 51% is actually not coming into factor. That's a good way to explain it, right? the red mark. It's saying that it's
It
under...
means you've hit your price cap.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's a good way to explain it. So I had to edit a bunch of these. Like I believe like the hissing quack dig through time. I bumped down to 40 cents. One of the reasons why I did so is I believe no one wanted it. So I might as well. Now people have put back up. So at one point though, I just like, okay, if no one wants it, I'll be the low, and I mean I'll be the high. So I'll do that a lot. Like a lot of times there won't be anyone, and so I can really lowball. Because of course, if you're the only one that wants, there'll inevitably be a person that is just trying to get something, get a deck, commander deck, so they'll trade anything. So they're going to find the best deal. And so you can take advantage of being the really, really low person. Again, no one's putting a gun to anyone's head making them send this. So if they want to send me a dig through time at 40 cents, oftentimes will be the highest price there, and then that will send off. So I did a bunch of comparing to buy lists today, and then audited that kind of stuff. But yeah, I don't do a lot of bookkeeping. I just kind of know what is the good deal and what I can sell it at, and then kind of wing it. So I know I can be better at that. So yeah, anyone else has any experience with with like trying to put out?
If I may, a short plug for Cardsphere here. If you have premium, you can download your ledger, and that download is going to have extra columns that are not available normally in the ledger that can help you track essentially your trading success.
Yeah,
right?
the delta.
Yeah, you can have
your delta.
deltas, you can have relative percentages, so it has everything. It has the index price at the time, and basically everything you need if you're trying to crunch some numbers for your activity on Cardsphere.
I did a fun little thing yesterday too. I audited my purchases and compared them to buy lists, and man, a lot of these I could make out. I'm surprised that, and maybe this is how like Peter does it, is well, he usually goes for any card above $10, I think is his platform. But where I found like a little bit of a little exploit. So like these CDC Undead Viziers, I believe this is one that I was like, man, you can sell these. Card Kingdom was given an insane amount for these type of things. I'm really surprised that no one has really exploited. I don't know if exploited's the right word. Taken advantage of Cardsphere and then turned it into buy list. And eventually, my prediction is it is going to lead to a more stable economy or more competitive economy between the buy lists of vendors and the sell prices. That gap is going to be bridged even more.
There's always going to be the anchor effect, right? So people are going to choose a card or two that will make up the bulk of the package, and then they're just going to throw in whatever throw-ins they can at whatever price they can get, right? And those throw-ins are maybe, are going to be valuable for the receiving partner.
Yeah, there we go. There, if you can see my screen right there, Card Kingdom is giving $4 for a Sidisi, and I got him for $2 a piece. So right there, I could have just made a double up by a quick little once received these, packaged all the Cardsphere, and then voila. That's what happens a lot. So if anyone's sitting on the fence about it and looking for at least that angle, there's some definite. I'm sure we're gonna get some bigger economist people eventually hit this hard, and it might ruin some of the. I hate actually one of the things that I going back to one of the Cardsphere videos that I was kicking myself for is a lot of my fans that sign up for Cardsphere, they undercut me. So I would do like so the very first thing I put my want list, and then I see some of you people on my own fans, just undercut me on like all the cards. So I'd click on this anger and then find like all these people that I knew who they were too, and I know that they're avid fans of the Market Monday, and they undercut me on them, or overcut or whatever you wanted. They had a higher offering price, so that's every time I do a Cardsphere video. Shoot myself in the foot. Anyway,
well, it's awesome that you keep doing it for us. We appreciate it.
Yeah, I don't want to keep you guys on too long. I'm willing to go as long as you guys want to, but if you guys have anywhere to go, otherwise we can just take some more questions or just.
I'd be happy to answer some more questions. I think I've got a bit more time.
All right, yeah. Like I
it's
said,
not every day we all get together, right?
I'm a single boring person that would just be playing Commander if actually I need to sit down and do a video before a tune gets banned so I can say, see, I told you so with that card. But Yeah, what's up? So Pac, let's see, our friend. Let's see. Marcello, that's how you say your name, right? Isn't that how it's pronounced? Marcello, or is it Marcello? Wants to ask Cardsphere guys if there are plans to support other TCGs aside from Magic. First of all, from my standpoint, this would be really cool. However, this is kind of the same warning I would give them that I give a lot of other companies, or WotC, or is I think they should perfect it before they run into other TCGs. But that is something that I would love to see, is a bridge between, Pokemon and Magic, to be able to trade, because I get so many Pokemon cards in this stupid store that I can't stand, and we just TCG player them off, and I probably could make a lot more money trading them directly for Magic cards. So I don't know. Any plans on that?
Nothing immediate. One of the problems with that, and I mean, that is something that people ask us about constantly. And so, I mean, I think there's a real demand for it. The problem is getting your card database correct is a really substantial task. And in fact, our database is only about 95% complete as far as Magic cards, with some significant gaps in it. But we feel like we've hit the most important 95. And then we're being asked to get into other CCGs, and we don't know them. We're all just Magic players. I think I've played Yu-Gi-Oh once, Pokemon once, and because I've got two little girls, I bought a whole bunch of the My Little Pony
that game was
card
awful,
game.
By the way. Did you ever play it?
Yeah, I tried to play it. I tried to play it, and my kids sort of lost interest in it. They went pretty quickly from My Little Pony straight to horror movies, so it's kind of hard to sell them on My Little Ponies now. So I still have some of the cards around, but I don't know if there's any value to them or anything like that.
The funny thing about that is we actually bought some from our distributors were blowing them out, and so we bought some boxes of it, and you'd be surprised at how many fan people just want to, how many bronies will come in and actually buy the stupid things. So,
right. Well, one of our Joe Dyer, one of our blog authors, he writes. He's just started writing about Legacy and Vintage for us. I didn't even know there was such a thing until I got to know Joe, and he's writing mashup fan fiction. I guess that's half My Little Pony, half Fallout universe. So
okay,
yeah, I haven't yet read any, but I've got it bookmarked, Joe, and I'm going to read some soon.
That's really cool. I played the Fallout games. I can't imagine that mashup. I'm interested. That's awesome.
It's pretty, as far as like universes go, those are pretty far apart.
Yeah, for me, it's real easy because I want to work on things that I like. And the whole Cardsphere experience for me has been possible because I like what I do, right? I don't get anything monetary out of it in return, and I at least want to enjoy what I'm doing. And I enjoy playing Magic, and I enjoy reading Magic articles and consuming content and playing it and thinking about it and looking at new sets coming out. Why should I be doing Pokemon or something, right? Or something else? Maybe because it's going to make me some money. I don't see that happening short term. So I'm just going to be honest, right? I don't think we have solved Magic trading, right? I don't think we have solved Magic. So Magic is going to be first, and hypothetically, when we feel that, yes, everything is 100% with Magic or 99% or whatever, maybe then we can branch off, right? But
that's smart.
That.
That's definitely smart.
I don't feel it.
When this question comes up, I think I mentioned earlier, I've been a user of Deckbox for a really long time. probably at least 6 years, and they cover the Warcraft card game. They cover, I think, 3 or 4 different card games. But I mean, from my sort of dipping in and just sort of looking at it, it looks like, my guess is that Seb, the developer, put those in because people demanded it. But, his real audience is Magic, and that's where the bread and butter is, right? So we're very cautious to not lose our precious development time chasing things that might or might not work.
Like if you think about like Pokemon and whatever that pony is thing, it's the age window for kids when they're interested in it is way before they get their first credit card.
You're forgetting about the bronies.
True, right? They're not gonna buy or sell or trade that thing, or most likely it's just gonna rot in the attic. That's it.
Yeah.
So Magic is for people, whatever, teen and up, and that takes whole life, right? So there are Magic players of all ages, not just 5 to 7, right?
Yeah, eventually, I think it would be an awesome little thing, but yeah, I do warn against stretching too thin. If people want that to happen, get more users. We have 6,000 right now. I'm sure if it's lucrative enough, that will be the incentive. That's usually how business works. So a couple other questions. Spot asks, MG Spotlight asks, is this USD or Canada? This is USD, correct?
Yeah.
That's how. Yep. Okay, that's an easy one to do. And then we have the Spotlight also asked, do you call it pop or soda as a Canadian? We call it both here in Utah, actually. It's mainly pop, but soda is also interchangeable. So
I call it soda, and Michael calls it, why are you drinking that overpriced sugar water, Ted?
Yep. And when I was in Pennsylvania, they called everything a Coke, regardless of what it was.
Yeah, I've heard about that.
Yeah. So, yep. Let's see here. We have. There's another one here that said, so let's see. So Deck 2200 Mega asks, who's the best person on Discord that would be to be able to talk about a database or help building a Cardsphere database?
I'm not sure what that means.
Who would be a good person to ask about how to best build a database to help with my Cardsphere trading, buying and selling?
We actually have, it being Magic, we have a number of developers that are in Discord, and I don't know if I want to volunteer any of them for that kind of task. But if you go into our Discord and you ask, people will be able to help. But I mean, if you're looking for collection management, that sort of thing, I would still recommend Deckbox until we have more collection management features. But if you are talking about like watching your trades over time, I think that we'll start accommodating more and more of your needs as we go forward.
All right, so here's a good, this isn't a question, but I guess we could bring it into a question. Max is just joined along for the days when you can ship a card with a vanilla envelope without a fear of getting scammed. So I guess we could talk about what is Cardsphere implemented that is going to, try to stop. I know it's a huge issue in PucaTrade was the scamming, and that's because they kind of incentivized scamming. I always like to tell a story about how I had a young kid, I think he was like 12 or 13 at the time, that made a bunch of accounts and referred himself on the PucaTrade with all these accounts, and he built an entire Skithrix the Blight Dragon deck off of PucaTrade by making fake accounts and sending referral fees to himself. And when I brought that up to the PucaTrade leadership, they were like, well, that's just the cost of business. People just, there will be, crappy people out there that will exploit the system, rather than, trying to do something against that. And it makes for a fun little story because I had to be the MTG dad here and sit the kid down and say, this is wrong. It looks victimless, but you are victimizing people. And even though they won't do anything about it, even though you're going to get away with it, it's still wrong and whatnot. So anyway, I guess our question for Cardsphere is how bad's the scamming or the lost packages, and what do you do to kind of decentivize that from occurring?
So first of all, Kevin, I gotta say I hope you also talked to the young man about how awful it was for him to be running Skithrix.
Oh, don't worry, I've null chambered it many times. My favorite Magic experience was null chambering Krenko and Skithrix in one in one game, when they're both in black and red and had no answer for null chamber. If you guys here, I'll pull it up on null chamber. Here is my sleeper card that everyone should be playing in Commander. Chamber. This bad boy. It's a reserve list card too. And whoops, I just pulling up for full value. Yep, someone's gonna send me in for full value. Null chamber, 3 and a white. It's an enchant world. Many people don't even know what that means. You can only have one enchant world out, so that's one way to kill it. You and target opponent each name any card except a basic land. Those cards can't be played. So what you do is someone that's sick of Krenko and Skithrix at the table, you say, hey, you hate that commander, I hate their commanders. You name one, I'll name the other. Sound good? And you lock out 2 commanders out of 1 card. So yes, it's we all do hate Skithrix at our store as well. So null chamber it.
Okay.
How many null chambers am I sitting on? Hundreds and hundreds. Shameful shelf promotion. I think I'm the greatest stock owner of null chambers. Just putting it out there.
Well, let's see if we can't get that bad boy to spike. So back to the question. First of all, we do have a referral system. Because we are using US dollars instead of points, our referral system gets you a week of our premium service, and you only get the reward once the person you've referred has made a trade. So either as a sender or a receiver, and that means it's really much less lucrative to try and game the system, and I'm sure we would figure it out, catch them. We do have a regular user. He's on Twitter as Proc Freak, as in frequency, or processor frequency, and he's offered. He's a specialist at fraud detection, and he's offered to spend some time with us, and we've been looking to arrange that for a while now, and we're really looking forward to being able to use his expertise and have a positive consultation with him. In the meantime, first of all, I do think that we do have some insulation built in, because on Cardsphere we don't give money back to both people if a card gets lost. Mm-hmm. The loss, according to our terms, goes to the sender. So you do have a little bit of a risk when you're sending. However, less than 1% of cards go missing, and we do have a dispute system to manage any kind of problem with trades. And I handle all the disputes myself, unless I'm away on vacation, and then Michael and Tom will give me a hand. And when users are having a dispute, I have a dashboard that comes up, and it shows me lots of stats about the users. And the one that's sort of most telling, I can see how many cards they've sent, how many they've received. I can see the min, average, and max value of cards that go missing as compared with cards that are successfully received. And if there's anything that sort of makes me suspicious of any of the activity, then I can go to Tom, I can go to Michael, and get a lot more detail to pull out of the database. Thankfully, that doesn't really happen. The only really bad event that has happened on Cardsphere so far, and I did bring visual aids, is these 7 counterfeits. And these counterfeits were traded inadvertently by one of our users. And the receivers, the first person that noticed the problem was our friend Marcus, who's one of the mods on the main Magic TCG subreddit. And he's also done a little bit of contract work for us, actually, on the back end. And he caught these cards. And for everyone who doesn't know, there are really good Chinese fakes. You can see that I've punched a hole in them to make sure that they're not suitable for circulation. And I'm keeping them, I get them all sent to me so that we know they're removed from circulation. And the traders all cooperated fully. We froze some trading so that the balance that needed to be restored to the people who got shipped the bad cards, we got moved all the money around, and so no one lost any money. And the trader who sent them, his story that he was able to communicate was that he received them as a batch in the EDH deck and a couple of other things that he got from a friend, and he didn't know that they were counterfeits. And I can totally believe that, especially in a sleeve. They're perfect. I've brought them to LGSs around town, which I do at every pre-release now, just to show people how high quality counterfeits can be. And we told him, even though we totally accept that you have not done this intentionally, if there's another event with counterfeits that come from you, you will be banned from Cardsphere, which still won't be a statement about your guilt. It just means that you're too high risk to have in the community. So far we haven't really had any problems with shipping. Now we do have a couple of tools built in that people can use. I know that a couple of the power traders will automatically block another user if a trade goes missing. They accept the terms, and they don't complain about losing the value of what was sent, but they will block the trader, again, not insinuating guilt about the receiver, just they figure, well, maybe the local mail carrier is less reliable. So it hasn't been a problem, and we are continuously working to build better safeguards against it becoming a problem.
Yep, and so I just wanted to show my profile here. So between cards sent and cards received, I'm over 1,000, almost to 1,100, right? Can I do the math right? Am I over? Nope, close to it.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, I've had one issue, and I guarantee, well, I've had two issues. One is, and then I just, like I said, I don't think that the other party was necessarily guilty or not. It's just for the sake of protecting myself, I block them so that I don't send them cards on accident. And then I'll also block people that have these really anal grading. If they're one of those people that are really picky on near mints, then I'll just block them just to protect myself. Nothing against them. It's just we have a different policy on grading because, as a store owner, I have a different idea of what is what. And, dealing with other vendors in the past too, it's one of those things. So I'd rather just not deal with the picky graders. So that's one reason I'll block. But the only, I've sort of 1,100 trades I've had with this system. I've had one time I've had to use the get an admin involved, and that's just over probably someone that's what's a better term than AFK. They've just probably forgotten they're still doing stuff on Cardsphere. I think I sent off one of their last cards. They probably had like a balance of like $5, and I sent one of the cards off to them, and they probably forgot about it. So and then it went through the chain, and they gave adamant time for the person to respond. The person never responded, a 2-week time period or something like that, and just awarded the points back. So it's been, and I would say that the Puka trade at the very first was pretty reasonable, but once it became kind of mainstream, that's when I really started seeing issues. But they incentivized it because there were so many packages where it would get lost that I would send, but I didn't care because Puka would just reward me and they'd award them, and it would be all rainbows and unicorns, and everyone was happy. But it caused this massive hyperinflation. I think that was one of the biggest problems with the system. That's the problem with being able to print currency out of thin air too. Yeah.
So to us, providing insurance or any form of insurance in this scenario would be actually a real cost as opposed to as compared to Puka Trade, for example. And if we are to offer it, that would create an additional tax on the card flow, right? So somebody or whole of community would have to shoulder it, right? And maybe that's not the way to go, because the senders are in the best position to decide for themselves what's their risk tolerance and what are the scenarios under which they would like to use the to purchase that shipping insurance, right? So there are ways you can still buy mail insurance if you want to, and I recommend people do that for expensive packages. But for cheaper packages, a lot of people tell us that that's just not worth it, right? This extra tax, in the long run, it just doesn't pay off.
Yeah. I didn't even use it for PucaTrade when they implemented it, because it's just, I'm a business owner, so I understand that there will be a less than 1% chance that my package will get lost. You just do the math on, okay, if I'm paying more than less than, point whatever it comes out to be. I think Frank had the actual numbers of how many packages get lost. And so if insurance is ever over that, it's not in your best interest as a trader to even want insurance, because it will cost you more in the long run than that one package that will get lost. So
yes, if you do volume, yes, you're going to average, right? If you are an occasional sender and your sends are valuable, I do recommend getting that insurance, because your one loss can just forever put
make
you
or break you,
right?
Yep.
So don't do that. Exercise judgment, where you think you can't afford to lose something, just get the mail insurance.
Yep. So another question we have here is by Psychozen, and I think this is one I can answer better. So I'm just a buyer. I don't sell or trade. Will that punish me? I guess you're referring to Cardsphere, and oh man, is this a buyer's market? Has this been a buyer's market since I've started? I think if you joined recently to this chat, I've touched on it before, that this is bridging the gap between the kind of buy lists and sell lists. And yeah, it's even for expensive cards. If let me go back to things I've received, because usually, like I say, I don't really buy a lot of expensive cards on here. I'm the person that gets your bulk rares, like these Seagate wreckages, curative mysteries. I've had a ton of these sent off. Smothering Abominations. I've had a bazillion of these sent off. I've showed my kind of magic of what I invest in before, on using EDH Rec and then comparing the numbers of a card in EDH Rec for a card that has value, and then you can make a trajectory that it has to go up just based on supply and demand. That's a video for another day. But I mean, you basically, if you even want more expensive cards, you're going to get a discount than you would probably get. Most of the cards I easily picked up for below TCG low, for even, I would say even that, what was my last one? I got a Phyrexian Altar. Isn't that what it's called? The one that sacks a creature? Let me see if I can find it popping up here. I got it for way less, and that was at 85% of... Okay, so here we go, Phyrexian Altar. This one is an MP, though, but if you actually look at the MP... again, I could care less if you're an MP. I looked on, and the cheapest one was like 24 with shipping when I looked at this at the time on TCG, because I think this is a $30-ish card, $34 card at the moment. And so, even for Commander players that are just looking for sheer cards that want to pay less, and not only that, but I highly recommend this too, because it goes to a community, and it kind of may not make sense as a business owner trying to talk about how money should be kept in the player's hand, but trust me, I'm a player first before a business owner. And so I think it's really important for Magic players to keep as much of their equity as possible. And so Cardsphere kind of keeps it circulating within actual players, rather than going to, if you buy and sell, like what really makes me sad about people that buy and sell on TCG Player is the only real winner, if you do enough trades, enough buy and sells on TCG, is the 8.5% plus 50% fee. That's eventually going to take all the value out of the community and put it all in TCG Player's pocket if you buy and sell there. Whereas Cardsphere is a 1% each way, which is nothing. Again, it's just covering the cost of risk or the cost of business to do so. So anyway, so to Psychozen, this is absolutely, if you put in your $100 and put everything at 81% on your wants, I guarantee you within a reasonable amount of time that you will get the cards. I built Nahab from scratch, and I swear I built another commander. What is that garbage commander that I don't even use its name? I did it. I decided to do the EDA Trek random, and it came up with this obscure reserve list card, and I'm one of those commander players that started to build it with synergy, but then now I don't even use my commander. It's just the color scheme. So what was it one? But anyway, I built that entire deck with Cardsphere 2, and if I didn't have so many cards I had to sift through, I'd show you all those.
So another way to answer that question is that 60% of the people who put money in, like deposit cash into their account, do so again. So, and I would wager that the other 40% are probably people like me who put in money at the beginning and just wanted to start getting cards quickly, and then switched into ascending cards mode.
Yeah, see, I was very tempted to put some more money in now that I'm down to $12.23, but then I realized that we have a pre-release coming up, and that's where I make out like a bandit on Cardsphere, is release dates, because people want cards. And so,
Right.
again, if you have patience, and just a pro tip for everyone, send all your cards you get at this pre-release. You'll thank yourself later. Everything devalues about, I would say on average, between 40 and 50% within just a few months.
Right. That's also one of the reasons why we do a promotion for every standard set that gets released, where we suspend the 1% trading fee. So we're not even taking the 1% the first 2 weeks a set's available.
Yep. So it should peak up the trades on those. One of the things that I made a lot was just the unstable lands. Holy, I sent so many unstable lands. I think that a huge portion of this was me. Well, I guess not anymore, but oh yeah. I was sending those off. People were, it's the first time I ever saw bonuses really come into play on Cardsphere, people giving bonuses out for like islands. So I mean, I'd wear the send stuff on Cardsphere than take an 8.5% fee plus a 50-cent transaction fee on TCG. Or eBay's even worse when you start getting into the low value. So I just sent packages and packages off on every unstable, because I drafted it three or four times, so that was quite a bit of lands I picked up personally. And then of course we get all our kids. Pet peeve of mine, by the way, to all my commander players that might be listening, maybe they can hear me in the room. If I hear you complain one more time and not being able to afford a card, and I see you playing with those stupid unstable lands, it's your own damn fault. There's money right there. You're playing with a $3 bill with that island. Biggest pet peeve. So, anyway.
I just think they're gross.
Yeah, they're okay.
They're like my least favorite land ever.
To each his own, but it's $3. Why would you pay $3 for a card when a 3-cent card does the exact same thing? That's why I've never liked foils. I've never been a fan of that whole thing. But like I said, different strokes for different folks.
That's it.
Someone else had a good question here that I missed.
Yeah.
Sealed product can be sold on Cardsphere. Yes, Max. You can sell sealed product. Well, you can trade it. That's the proper terminology. So you can go over here to your wants and you can actually add a.
You need premium to send it, but you don't need premium to receive it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah. So
that was actually the only time that we've ever done a takeaway. So we introduced sending sealed before premium, but we included a note on the screen so that everyone would know this is a preview of a premium feature.
How do we find it here? I found it here before for booster boxes that will come up. Oh, there we go. Just type in booster box and you can add all these. How are these? Do you have any numbers on how these are moving? Have they been slow to move?
I don't know offhand, but I mean, you can click into each one and see what they do.
See.
I'm not sure that the boxes move.
Here, yeah. Oh,
I know that packs
are moving.
The packs are moving. See, the thing is, like, people have like sent me private messages like, "Hey, I see. Do you have any?" And then they're like, "I'll take one for 70." I'm like, "Are you guys insane?" Well, first of all, the I don't think the sealed product works quite the same way as cards, because the just the outlets that you have for single means that you can be a lot more loose on your pricing, so you can lowball people for sure, because of course they're going to want to send off a card for better than a buy list, so slightly better than a buy list. However, sealed product is very competitive with that window of where a product sells. So I'll get all these people like, hey, I'll pay you $70 for a box. I'm like, that's $5 loss for me. You know, you could say, you know, I just rather would put $70 into Cardsphere at that point. So for me to send off a box, I'm going to have to be in the 100 range probably for most boxes. So if anyone ever gets to that point, I'll move boxes on Cardsphere like crazy. And then of course that's the problem with Cardsphere as well, is the shipping is part of the sender's prerogative, and so therefore I'd probably put boxes about 107 to really make it worthwhile to be trying to get some sort of, unless I guess this could come in play for people that just win a box and don't want to, if they don't have any outlet to sell it. So I think that might be one of the reasons why it's not moving around. Just people have been unreasonable with me about what they would, buy a box at. I think people just don't understand the distribution lines of Wizards, the profit margins on it. They're pretty terrible, especially for a smaller store. I get boxes for 78 directly from Wizards, and I get them about between now thankfully one of my distributors really wants to scratch my back, but between 78 and 86 depending on the distributor is what I get standard booster boxes for. So, and you got a cap in shipping is going to be a minimum of $6 on those sets, and they're the awkward sets like Unstable or Conspiracy. It's even more because they don't fit in the box. So anyway, yes, you can buy booster or sealed product on Cardsphere and trade it as well.
Hey, Kevin, just something that might be useful to you that's up on the screen. Do you see the little icon in the top right corner?
Top right corner, this one? Yep.
Yeah, that'll let you download a CSV for the entire set. So for you, this would be a fast way for you to add your Rivals of Ixalan.
Has this been here for this entire time?
A couple of weeks.
Okay, yeah, this is going to help me out like crazy, because I found some people, you gave me a link to one before, and oh yeah, this is really going to help me, because there's a lot of times, like I said, is I just don't want to painstakingly go through inventory management on Cardsphere. Maybe I should, but I just like to browse prices, and most, like, anything in the past few years we have it at our store. It's just, do I want to send it off? And that's where I like to, that is definitely going to be very, very beneficial. Thanks for that.
Yeah, you can have 10 copies each of every Rivals card up in a couple of seconds this way, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yep. It's definitely gonna work out. So how about this little, this seems very tough, Spotlight. MC Spotlight asks, is there a way then in the future for like Magic accessories?
So a lot of people have asked about this, about spin downs, about stamps, top loaders, playmats, all sorts of things.
Game day playmats. We sold. Do you know how much the winner that's
T-shirts?
The winner that won I didn't win store championship. I went X and 1, so I didn't win it. So the person that won, Talmadge, one of our players here, he sold that for $120. Insane. That stupid map playmat, like the map of Ixalan, $120.
Right.
Crazy.
I would say we get asked about this regularly, but it's another one of those things where the frequency of which we get asked for it doesn't warrant us taking that action. So, if people are listening and want that, you need to make your voices heard through one of our channels, and we'll pay attention. So we know it's something people want. It's just hard to justify compared with a reputation system, for example.
I would highly encourage doing a playmat for Cardsphere. You might be surprised if how many people will take that up. That I always told Puka that would be a good way to get rid of their point system, but they were so, at least having a way to cash out their points through merchandise. So I think that'd be a pretty good.
So we're we would be happy to do that. And I've talked to Inked Playmats, and a couple of people have approached us, other vendors. And really, the problem for us is the fulfillment. I mean, we're kind of balls to the wall.
Inked will
right
do that
now.
for you. Inked is
Right.
a very good process of fulfillment. That's been my problem with merchandising too. Is anything beyond playmats is very unreasonable with my size. Like if I was bigger, then I would be able to, like, we're looking into t-shirts or card sleeves is a nightmare. But t-shirts, to get a decent price, I'd have to probably do about a $2,000 worth of t-shirts. And at this point, I don't want to get stuck on a bunch of inventory that I can't. That's a lot of money to be tied up at one point. So Inked is
Right.
pretty cool because they'll fulfill it. I'm pretty sure if you keep pressing them, they'll give you a good deal. Just
the prices that they offered, and I mean, I think I talked to them actually before we even launched, and so we would have got definitely the boilerplate pricing, and the pricing was good. It's just all three of us have day jobs, and then Cardsphere is really a second job, and it's just we don't have the manpower to be packaging product up and that sort of thing. So this is the kind of thing where we would always be interested in talking to someone about a partnership, someone that could do the fulfillment and take the risk and just give us a piece of it. But it's not something that we're going to do directly in the short term.
See, that's exactly what I've been begging for. Is eventually I think there will be a company that can come along and just really capitalize on accessories for personalities, or like I said, for like the stores like that. So if you guys ever hear anything about that too, keep me in the loop, because I've been looking for good deals for that kind of stuff, and I'll keep you guys in the loop with that as well.
We're also not going to be litigious for anyone using our logos. Let me show you something else. This is our friend Josh in Texas made these. Let's see, this is a treasure token. And we have our Jolly Roger on the back.
Oh, nice. Yep.
And so he's just a great member of the community and a supporter. And he printed out a ton of these, and he just slips them into his trades.
Yep. If you get a trade from me, you'll probably get a Rogue Deckbuilder business card. Usually I send those off.
Yeah. We have there's an LGS in the Netherlands, and he actually, with all of his trades that he sends out, he has his Cardsphere information and his Magic Card Market information, because he's using both services, as many of our European customers do.
Yep. That's speaking of trading on to international. This is, I think I've had some success with it. The stamps, you can buy basically the anywhere stamps that are not that more expensive than your regular stamp. I mean, it's going to be over twice as much, but you can still find some pretty good trades. I think I was the first person to send one off to the Falkland Islands. So
you sent to the Falkland Islands?
Yeah, the Falkland Islands. He was so happy. He's like, no one's sending me anything. The first one, and to be honest, though, it was on accident. I usually don't send because sometimes it can be a headache, and it got there just fine, and so yeah, don't let that dissuade you if you're looking to send.
What we've seen develop actually, or start to develop, is people within certain regions making Facebook groups. So we've got a Cardsphere Brazil, and there's a United Kingdom Cardsphere and Pucatrade Facebook group, and more of these are coming. You may have seen that we've got some plans around beginning our reputation system by starting to do achievements and badges, and we're definitely going to try and incentivize people to send to international customers and just get the flow going. Certainly, there's a lot of people from overseas that send into North America, and there's a lot of great opportunities finance-wise sending to Europe, especially. And we have a very good presence in Australia, I should say, as well.
So I've talked to some of my Brazilian friends. They see popper cards are going like crazy over there. You go to the Japanese markets, a lot of times the more spike staple cards are a lot more expensive, and then vice versa. I hear both those markets have dismal commander groups, and so you know, this is why I like services like Cardsphere, or especially Cardsphere here, is it can bridge those gaps too. So people from Japan can get rid of all their commander, because I think well, Canada too. I hear United States and Canada are really turning into commander countries more than anything. That's my bread and butter of specs now, is commander. I don't even touch spike cards anymore. So, yep. So, did we miss any? Here's a drama question. Someone referred to Cardsphere as Puka Trade Part 2. Care to comment?
Sure. if that's what you want to call us, go ahead. You know, once in a while, I work Cardsphere right until I go to sleep at night. And one of the last things I usually do, I'm looking at the social communities on my phone before I actually, you know, pass out and wake up in 6 hours to go to work. But I was looking at the start of Cardsphere, and Cardsphere really started in Puka Trade subreddit about 12 months ago. And I to read all the, you know, there was a lot of naysayers and people saying it'll never happen, it's just a different pyramid scheme, it's this, and it makes me really happy looking back at those comments and knowing the people making those comments have been turned around into users and strong supporters of Cardsphere. So if you want to think of us as Puka Trade Part 2, you know, more power to you, but you can always get in touch with one of us, and we're happy to talk to anyone. If you have any concerns about the platform, we're wide open and happy to discuss it.
Well, the basic facts are out, right?
Right.
So look for the facts. If you can't find them, talk to us, talk to our community. They'll get you the facts. And if you still, you know, deny the reality, well, so be it.
I talk to Puka traders all the time, and I do want to make it clear that you know, we love Puka traders, and we look at it just as one large trading community, no matter what platform you're using. And you know, I think a lot of people have taken some of the criticisms we've had of their leadership and what happened, as, you know, personally. And I've had a lot of conversations. Just 2 or 3 days ago, my phone buzzed at midnight, and I was asleep. But I woke up and I talked to a prominent Puka trader for 40 minutes because he was upset about something that a prominent Cardsphere guy was doing. And, you know, I said, hey, we can Skype right now if you want. We can, I'm available to talk to. We're just, you know, human beings here trying to do the best that we can, trying to build something good.
When Ted says he's available in the middle of the night, that's not a figure of speech anymore.
That's right. It's true.
So here's a question. Don't you have this HF32 asks, do you have a shipping best practice page? I swear I've seen one before. Isn't it in your trade guide?
Yeah, if you click on the blog, we just our friend Josh, the same fellow that made the treasure tokens and was one of the guys that ran our Secret Santa, he did a video for us. Our friends over at Exotic MTG, another YouTube channel, they do a video on packaging. And sometimes, you know, we even refer people to the professor's video because it's a good video.
Yep. So here you go. There's one right on the blog. I pulled it up, found me a couple seconds to find it. How to package cards. And Zach, since Zach's in the room, he can yell at everyone for running sticky tape, right? What else? Yes. What else does Zach hate? All the stuff that we receive. Oh man, there was a package someone got extremely lucky with the other day. I don't know how the cards came okay because the rest of the package was completely destroyed and cards were stuck to tape here and there. But
did you tweet out the picture of that?
No, I didn't.
Someone just tweeted a picture out where the, the envelope was ripped. It might have been Exotic MTG. it might have been him, but someone did recently, and the cards arrived safe, but the package was fucked up.
See, I sent a
I
message.
get 1 out of 10 ripped envelope, guys.
Oh yeah, yeah.
That's why I'm in my profile, actually in my trade notes, I actually ask people to tape it to the envelope.
Really?
Yes, I do.
Yeah, that's how I do it too. I definitely tape so you put it in a perfect fit, and then put the perfect fit in a sleeve, and then put the sleeve in a hard, and then you tape I tape the hard case to the actual package. It helps with two things because they slide them through. Even though you will put stuff that will say non-machinable, they will still do it. So, yeah, just keep that in mind. The post service is brutal with your packages. I think I did send off a message to someone recently thanking them for securing their packages correctly, because I definitely got a package that looked like a dog had chewed it up, and the cards were just fine because they had secured the package correctly. And then there's these other people that I'm like, oh wow, you are so lucky, because I get these cards that just come in loose, just like, and not even sleeved and loose. I mean, I understand a lot of my cards that I am buying do not hold values, like these Madcap experiments, for example, 10 cents a piece, so who cares, blah blah blah. But still, it doesn't take much just to secure them properly. Zach's got it down to a science, so hopefully people enjoy the packages we send off, and will give us the same courtesy and secure them correctly. But I haven't had much issue in the Cardsphere community. I think everyone is. I think that's mainly the demographic we've got so far in the community, though, is the more seasoned veterans. In fact, I'd want more of the noobs. That's why I keep telling you, man, you should make a deal with the devil. Get Turner Community College to do a tweet on this, and this would skyrocket, and then I'd be able to get these. The spike in me, I don't know, is that ethical? It's got to be ethical, right? We're all I was
so you know, the one problem with some of the larger entities is a lot of them are sponsored by companies that run buy lists, right?
Yeah.
So I think we've more or less written off coverage by the Professor or Wedge, for example, not just for that reason, but also because, I mean, they did get a lot of flack for supporting Puka, and I mean, if I was in their position, I wouldn't want to open myself up to that kind of criticism again, right?
Yeah. Well, I think people need to get over. That's what I've talked with you before too, about how I know in the past you guys kind of have been paranoid with being compared. But I think the services are so much different that most of the things that Puka got in trouble for, Cardsphere's immune to, and we've talked about a lot of those in this video, with the runaway inflation, with it not having any sort of good cash out or ways to avoid getting scammed on just the spikes and reprints and things like that. Like all that stuff, there's so many protective measures in here, just not to protect yourself, but protect the community, that I don't know why people need to be afraid of going down this road. I think it's fortunate but unfortunate that Puka Trade existed. This is when I was slamming Puka Trade. I was kind of I was in a dark place with the trading community, because I'm like, man, I don't think that anything could come along again. That Puka Trade just ruined it forever for the trading. And I'm very happy that I was proven wrong. So yeah, finish your thought there before I interrupted.
Yeah, so I was going to say that when it comes to coverage, those big names, they're sitting very well with where they are, right? So they need to have an incentive to get out of their way and start covering us. Right, and if we're not providing that incentive, this coverage is not going to happen, at least with them. With people like you, right? You are more community oriented, because you truly believe that this interview is going to help your viewers, right? It's something that interests them, and it's something that can be good for them, right? So that could be one of the differences, and I don't want to sound accusatory or disrespectful to the big name YouTubers, but they operate slightly with a different premise, right? For them, or maybe for some of them, it could be that their streaming is their business, right? It's not a hobby, and they're just not doing it for the funsies. They'd rather be, relaxing on a yacht, so to speak. So there could be some of that going on, right? And that's okay. That's the reality of life. It's not all, unicorns and rainbows everywhere, and we realize that, right? And at some point, when we feel like the timing and the place is there, maybe we will pull the trigger. I can't rule it out, right? And maybe at some point we will start paying for our coverage, but the time is not now, 100%.
And we'll let people know when we're paying for coverage also.
Exactly. I mean, it has to be. I can't rule it out, right? Because everything is changing. Like, we don't know where we're going to be in 2 years growth-wise, right? Maybe we're going to be big enough, and it's paying something for the coverage is going to be such a small potato that we're not even going to blink, right? Or I don't know. But for now, that's not the case, and it just doesn't align with our understanding of how Magic communities could be better served. Right? We are gravitating towards the coverage by people and by individuals and by companies that share similar understanding of communities and motivations, so to speak. You know what I'm trying to say. So just jumping into paid advertising is not something that we're ready to do. So
you know what? It's also really a lot of fun. This goes back to what we were saying earlier, where we start to have the relationships with people like, do I call them the Mage family, Papa and Young Mage, and Exotic MTG, who I mentioned a few minutes ago. He was someone I reached out to because he did 100 videos covering. He did a Puka Minute video, just trying to support them. And he stopped when the trading dried up and he wasn't getting anything. So I reached out to him and said, hey, man, any interest in trying out my service? And he did a series of 4 videos from the moment he signed up right through receiving and sending his first packages. And it's been a really positive relationship so far. We're also going to be streaming or sponsoring a streamer called Mr. Metronome. And so we want to get the right size people and come up with them together, right? And that's a lot of fun.
I still insist that, say, sponsoring somebody and paying them some money, right, to support them, like a less known streamer, is a different thing rather than paying a big streamer big money for them to just do a shout out or something.
Right. It's more community oriented.
If we sponsor somebody right now, right, somebody less known, it's got a different feel and it serves a different purpose. And on top of it, we actually like to know that the person we're sponsoring is actually using us and can share their own candid experiences with the platform, right? It's not just, hey, sponsored by Cardsphere, blah blah blah. No, it's got to be something more than that, right?
Well, before I get all back to my original thought, I'm not all. There is definitely in it for me for promoting Cardsphere. I'm not all innocent in this whole thing. The more users are on Cardsphere, the more trades I will get and the better trades I will get. So don't you think that I have a lot of self-interest in this platform growing.
That is fine.
Yeah,
That's
that's
fine.
what I'm just
I
saying.
mean, our goals around Cardsphere are aligned, right? We want more users to be using it, and you want more users to be using it, right? Plus, we aren't doing anything unethical anywhere, right? Growing the community, you are growing it for your own potential benefit. That is fine. That's okay. If you think that more people are going to send you more cards, so be it. It means that those people, because they're sending you cards, they're not being forced. It means that that's what they want to do, right? It means that we are serving them well. They are doing it for a reason. Nobody's twisting their hand. So I don't see how it creates a problem. There's no problem there, right?
Yeah. Well, I love to use that terminology of being.
Hey, Cardsphere is great, whereas we're not, right? That's not the case.
I just always love to play on the word selfish because everyone has a huge negative connotation to it, but it's good to be selfish.
Yep.
Well, selfishness is something that propels the economy forward a lot of times.
It's also the root of human altruism, right?
Yeah, you have to have two sides of the medal, right? On one side, you're kind of selfish, and you have to think about yourself, your family, and keep things close to your chest. On the flip side, yeah, you're still part of the community. You need to think about other people, about how you fit there, about the fact that you need to kind of give it back if you're taking it, this type of thing. So if the balance is right, it's okay to be selfish, right? You just got to get this balance between individualism and the community right.
Yeah, there's a difference between selfishness and predatory. So that's the big
and
distinction people need to make.
There's difference, exactly.
I'm hitting my time limit because I still have about half an hour of work to do before I go to bed, doing Cardsphere disputes.
Yep.
So,
now that we've taken you away from your your Cardsphere, any closing? Since it's Market Monday, do you guys spec at all? Any hidden, since they at least can get some sort of meat out of this? Any cards you're keeping an eye on?
I am the worst speculator in the world.
Yeah, I went deep on for $4.
I went deep on aggressive mining. Aggressive mining, prognostic sphinx. You don't want my picks.
I have my own strategy, so I'm not a speculator, but I am the smart investor, and I never invest in more than a play set of things because, hey, I can play with it, and so I just do the natural thing. I buy staples after rotation and things like this, or if I can clearly identify that this thing is going to be played, I'll buy it early before everybody else discovers this. Or I'm not even ashamed for doing this. I look at decks that are maybe doing well or semi-well on Magic Online, and I'll just buy the cards that I don't have from them. And a lot of times, 4 months down the road, suddenly this becomes a real deck off by 2 cards, and I already have it. So I kind of do that. It doesn't require a lot of energy. And I kind of like it. It makes me feel that I am still in the game. I still maintain my collection. I still have those dreams that I'll play Magic again and play some events, which never happens anymore. So it just keeps me going, type of thing.
How about you, Tom? You've been quiet.
Specs, much like Ted, I'm not good there either. I will admit to looking at MTG Goldfish's meta for Modern, even though I don't know shit about Modern. Just sort of looking at it, looking at the charts that I don't really know how to read very well either, and adding those things to my Cardsphere want list. And some of my motivation there is to sort of just help trades move a bit. But I just like right now I'm picking up spell quellers, and I'm trying to get them at $5 a pop, and maybe I'll sit on them for someday until maybe they're worth $10 a pop again, and I'll be happy with that.
Wait, I thought you were building golem eggs.
No, I'm not building. I built golem eggs through Cardsphere entirely, the entire 75.
Awesome.
After your article,
I've
never played
player?
Pauper. No.
It's not eggs. It's golem eggs for Pauper.
Okay, you get a pass.
It's not exactly the same. It's got real win conditions. I got to say, I love the jank.
I built your list. And I don't know anything about it. I mean, parts of it are here because Rich Doug sent me 25 cards, and then Woad sent me 10 cards. Yeah, it was awesome. But I have a friend at work who I just actually met. I've worked with him for since May. I just met him, and we met over Magic, and I was telling him about Cardsphere and telling him about all of that, and he's going to build a Pauper deck as well, so we can play during lunch together. So I'm excited to try that.
But he's gonna hate your guts.
Huh?
He's gonna hate your guts if you're playing golem eggs.
Yeah. Yeah, specking, yeah, shit. I should have just answered honestly. I don't play this game for the money. So
yeah.
Hey, that's there you go. You have the 3 developers.
I should have answered honestly in the first place.
None of them are your greedy MTG finance people, so that's a good sign, right? Because if you'd have a little bit of a conflict of interest, I would say. But for all those that you are finance people, I'm glad that Tom brought up the Spell Queller. That is my current spec. And not for paper. I don't like it as much. I'm more bearish in paper. Online transparency, I've bought most of this price spike here was me. So just a little bit of a disclosure. I've been buying Spellclaw up from anywhere from the $4 range to the $5.25, just because I've identified a kind of gap in Eldritch Moon rares. So the reference point is Collect Brutality. It's a $23 to $24 rare in MTGO, and so the supply must be very dismal for the Eldritch Moon. This is not a card that is on the curated list. Keep in mind, if you spec an MTGO, you need to avoid cards that are heavily on the curated list. Curated list will be updated the 15th, so keep that in mind. For my paper spec that I've been keeping an eye on as well is this little gem here, also in Eldritch Moon, because I think that this starts to show discrepancy. Keep in mind this here, if you're using MTG Goldfish, it looks like they've changed their prices now to affect market price. You're going to see a huge crash. Ignore this. Don't worry about that. It's just going to have a new reference point because they're going to market price rather than TCG mid, which I'm fine with. As long as they stay consistent, I don't care where their information is at. So anyway, you see a discrepancy here with online versus paper. The online tends to, the supply gets outstretched quicker than in paper. And you can see that this card started to get outstretched during the release of Ixalan. It is because of this deck that is constantly showing up almost every day, the 7th, the 6th, the 5th, the 4th, and then the 3rd, 28th. So is this Mardu Pyromancer. There's also played in Legacy in a Delver deck, and it is also in a red-blue deck in Modern as well, being a 4 of in all of those decks, being the Bedlam Reveler. So I think that this was just too slow. Eldritch Moon is in a very kind of unique position because it was sandwiched in between the Eternal Masters, and it just wasn't opened that often. In fact, they didn't do a second print run, I believe, on this set. So the supply of this is very, very low compared to Shadows, Oath of the Gatewatch, and Battle for Zendikar. And of course, right after this came the monster we call Kaladesh, which will never be worth any money because there's so many of these Kaladesh was overprinted. So anyway, that's just my 2 picks for both MTGO and for paper. So I'd like to give a huge thanks to the Cardsphere peeps for coming on. You guys are legends. I enjoyed this immensely. And yeah, any closing statements that you have?
Be kind to one another.
Alrighty.
That's there to be deep. There you go.
Definitely, if you haven't signed up for Cardsphere, do so. You will thank me later. I've had a bunch of people send me messages about. I remember Coach. If you guys know Coach,
Yeah.
he sent me a big thank you for getting him into Cardsphere, and I have nothing but good stuff to talk about Cardsphere. So hopefully that I'm pretty sure that will be the going forward. So
Awesome.
big thanks again. And
Well, thank you for having us on, Kevin.
Yep.
We appreciate it as always, and we'll keep in touch and maybe even play a game or two soon.
Alrighty. Well, everyone, this has been Market Monday. Hopefully this has been to your advantage, and happy specking, and we'll see you next time.